Hello and welcome to Too Fast, Too Forever. There's all kinds of family. We chose this one. This is episode 236, Point Break from 1991. I'm Joey Lewandowski.
I'm Joe too, and this episode's brought to you by Magic the Gathering, where you could play with cards like the Thieving Skydiver from the Zendikar Rising set. Shout out to Magic the Gathering.
Well, shout out to Magic the Gathering and Wizards of the Coast and Hasbro, I think. Walt writes about Magic, because Magic is very hot right now with pandemic and everything. They make lots of, a lot of money.
Like Magic's been around forever, but I mean, like, it's hot. That makes sense, because, like, Pokemon cards came back hard. Magic, yes. I'm sure, too. Yep.
So, shout out to all of them, and welcome to Too Fast, Too Forever. After the break, we will be talking about Point Break, the original, not the remake, which I have not seen. Have you seen the remake? You know that there's a remake?
I know that there's a remake. I was going to ask you about it on the back half, because I was like, I can't imagine it comes even close to being as good as this.
No, I never saw. There was something that I was like, I never had interest in it. I don't think it's very good, but there was someone involved, either in the making or the acting or something, where I was just like, oh, I want to see that. Like, there's some actor, and like, I looked today, I'm like, I don't know who that was. Like, I either like missed them or like I confused things or something, but like, I don't know what my attraction for like one moment in time was toward the remake, but I've never seen it. You know, I'm sure it's not terrible, but you know, when this exists, why would you not watch this, right? So
exactly, yeah.
Anyway, extracurricular activities. Joe, what have you been up to since we last spoke?
Nothing. I have a busy weekend planned, which I will talk all about when I get back. Taking a little trip here shortly, but
the thing you're doing is in New York, right? Is it in New York? Where is it?
Vegas.
Oh, why didn't my... Oh, I know why. Okay. My dad said big weekend for New York, but I know why because of the thing affiliated with New York and what's going on at the thing. But yes, Vegas. Okay, yes.
Cool.
Yes.
Okay, so yes. By the time this comes out, I'll be back. Cool. And I'll have plenty to talk about then, but I haven't been up to much since. I was like, planning, prepping kind of stuff for that. One thing I wanted to say is that we watched the Abercrombie documentary on Netflix. Have you heard about this? I've heard
it's bad.
Like, the documentary is bad or the content is bad?
Well, I've heard that, I guess both. I guess the short answer is both. I've not heard good things about the documentary, but I also, haven't really heard too many people who actually seen it.
The documentary maybe is not great, like, as a document. It's not, like, super captivating the way it's edited or things like that, but the idea of like a documentary about Abercrombie and like the shit that it went through, it was such like a big thing at the time that we were like of the age to experience it, is very fascinating. So like, it's
called White Hot: The Rise and Fall of Abercrombie and Fitch.
Yeah, there you go. That's the name of it. I knew, that Abercrombie got in trouble for pretty much like, being racist and stuff like that, but I didn't know how bad it was. So if you have any nostalgia for Abercrombie or just like grew up in that era, it's fascinating to watch because it was way worse than I ever thought it was. Like, openly bad. They said the quiet parts out loud many times as a company. It's just wild to see. So it's a fun drunk watch. Especially if, you or someone loved Abercrombie. It's fun to think about now, being like an adult and being like, holy fuck, I can't believe we lived through that and didn't know how. Like, I don't know. It just wasn't like as open knowledge, kind of. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Something just interesting to watch that we watched recently that I was like, holy shit, told a bunch of people at work about it. If you like nostalgia and stuff, like if you like bad nostalgia, it's great for that.
Yeah, I've heard that it just becomes basically an advertising for the new Abercrombie. Like,
no, that's like 5 minutes at the end. Like, they're like, hey, like, look, like, we're not shitbags anymore. 98% of it is like, this is the horrible shit that happened, and that's the more fascinating part. So
cool. Anything else of note or no?
No, that's about it. How about you? What have you been up to?
Well, as I told you last week, I finally completed. I beat Elden Ring, which I'm very, very excited about. Thank you so much. Thank you so much. Like 112 hours, I think was the final count or something. I beat we recorded a Wednesday, so I think it was on Thursday. I beat the boss that I was stuck on. Then, like, I was, story wise, I had the final boss to do, and so I've gone back in a couple times just to play around a little bit because you can do new game plus, like just keep your same character, same stuff, and just like everything's harder and just sort of start from scratch. You can do that I think like
Oh,
6 or 7 times.
that's
I keep
cool.
toying with that idea, but I'm like, I don't want to. Like, I'd rather do other stuff,
Because you
especially
haven't
since
like
this.
100%ed it, you just beat it.
No, I mean, I don't think, I think it would take hundreds and hundreds of hours to 100% it. I did basically everything of major note that I could do, but
Okay.
like the new game plus is like literally just you go through the
With
same
like a leg
game
up,
from the start.
everything that you've accumulated in the game.
Yes, and not everything, but like most things, like the things that really matter, and like
Okay.
every, all like you fight all the same bosses, but they all have more health, they all do more damage, all that sort of stuff, right?
Okay.
So I've not done that yet because I just the company that made it, this From Software, who did like Dark Souls and Demon Souls and Bloodborne and all this different stuff. Like I've never played any of those games, so I'd rather do those for the first time
Oh,
before I
that's
spend
fun.
another whatever dozens, hundred, whatever hours playing the same game again. But it's still, it's great. Um, I feel like I've done so many things. Oh, last Thursday I went to the Devils game because we got invited by one of our clients, who I will not name.
It's really cool.
But yeah, it was the Devils game, and they had some like technology stuff on display there, which was cool. Like things that
Devils
the
won,
league is
right?
playing with. No, Devils lost 5-2.
Really, to the fucking Sabres? I know they were playing
Mm,
the Sabres. Oh god. The end of the hockey season has been really weird, and this has been like one of the first seasons where we've had a lot of like we're gonna rest guys type situations,
oh, okay, interesting.
which never really happens in the NHL.
That's something that happens in baseball a little bit and
Football
football
for
for sure.
sure.
Yeah, and
Yeah.
basketball too. So I guess
Yeah.
it was time for the NHL to catch up.
Yeah, it kind of makes sense, but it's kind of like frustrating,
Oh yeah,
fantasy wise, fan wise
sure.
type situation. So
Yeah, we finally in our baseball league voted this year. We've like been talking about it for years, but we finally voted this year to end the season 1 week early. Like it was always.
I'm just thinking about that with our fantasy hockey league because it's been like so fucky this past like 2 weeks of just weird shit. But yeah,
Because like in baseball, like pitchers don't really go the full like a pitcher normally goes not anymore 'cause now everything's crazy, but like a pitcher normally go like 6 innings or whatever, and like they're like, oh, there's four innings, or like people just they want to rest after the playoffs or whatever. So like it's cool because the last day of the regular season, every game is at 3 o'clock. So like if the championship is close, it has cool like there's a nice like built-in tension there because everything's happening at the same time, so you can either
yes,
like make
that's
up
really
ground or
cool.
whatever.
Yeah,
But when your guys aren't playing, it's like, well, what are we doing here? So we're finally, we're going to end the season 1 week early, and just the last week of the regular season, just there's no fantasy for us, which is fine because it's just it's better than the alternative, I think.
I agree. Yeah, I'm debating the same thing for our league next year because I'm getting frustrated with this. Like it's just been wacky bullshit. But yes.
So then Saturday morning there's this annual book sale in the county that I grew up in. That's huge, and they didn't have the last 2 years because of COVID, but they've had it back this year. And so I went with my mom, and it was
It's
good. I got a lot of
cute.
books. It's like $2 for a hardback or like trade paper, like whatever, and just so I got lots of good books there, which is good. Because then a book related, Bob came up on Saturday to do a How to Win the Lottery, which
Cool.
was we haven't done one in a while because we were reading a 1,000-page book.
Jesus.
So we finished that. So we did that. Did a long episode that'll be out this Thursday, not
Was the
tomorrow
book
as we
good?
record, but next week. Yeah, book's great. Book's awesome.
Awesome.
Bob has read it 3 times. I'm actually starting to reread it like very slowly because I just like there's so much to take in, and I feel like I missed stuff, like a lot of stuff. So I'm just rereading it now, as I
Interesting.
also read the next book that we're going to cover and whatever. So yeah, so that's good. That the book is called The Instructions by Adam Levin. So if anybody out there wants to, it's not depressing. Well, I mean, it kind of is, but it's not like depressing in the other way that other things that I've talked about are. But if you want to read a very long, good book, or just listen to our episode about it, The Instructions by Adam Levin comes out next Thursday, the 5th, Cinco de Mayo. So
Oh,
keep it out for
nice.
that.
Cool.
Oh, we did 2 episodes of 1999 the podcast this week because episode 2, which is Star Wars The Phantom Menace, will be out by the time this episode comes out because that comes out
Okay.
on Monday. So we recorded that episode last night. And then John and I also did an episode with about the Blair Witch Project. So we did 2
Oh, that's fun.
good movies, good episodes. Yeah, so those are every other Monday, as John both succinctly and confusingly said on our last episode.
That's
Every
true.
other
Yeah.
Monday. He's got an episode every Monday, but it alternates with Hard to Believe. And then what else? Is there anything of note that I've seen? Oh, I saw The Northman with Bob, the new David Eggers No, the new Robert Eggers. David Eggers is the author. The new Robert Eggers movie. Have you seen advertisements for this? Do you know Robert Eggers, the guy who did The Witch and The Lighthouse and stuff?
Okay, yes, I know that now.
So The Northman is the
Somebody's in
Alexander
it.
Skarsgård movie where it's
Okay.
just like a revenge, like it's basically Macbeth. It's him and Nicole Kidman and Ethan Hawke and Anya Taylor-Joy, and
Ah, that's right.
it's
Yep,
great.
yep,
It
yep.
rules. It's awesome. So we were looking forward to this for a while, and it's great.
Is
So
it
I'm happy to report
A24
that.
too?
I don't know. Let's see. Is that on here? No, it's Focus and Perfect World and Square Peg. I don't think that Eggers is. No, Eggers did The Witch for them. I don't know.
That's
And
what
I
I
guess
said.
Slater's
Yeah,
with them too. Yeah, I don't think that A24 is involved with the Northman.
but
This
but I think the Lighthouse was like one that was like. Do you know this weird deal that A24 had that like A24 got money from Showtime if they made like exclusive? Do you know this?
no maybe what is it?
A24 had this deal with Showtime where like if they made exclusive movies for Showtime, Showtime would pay them like out the ass for it. And like so they had this deal so like 5 movies a year would be like A24 but also come out for Showtime. And I think The Lighthouse was one of those. And like that's when I found out cuz I was like, "Oh, like it didn't get a theater release or something."
No, it did.
It did?
It did.
So a smaller theater release than usual for an A24 movie.
Well, I mean, so A24 is like an indie darling, but they make way more movies a year than you have any idea that they make. Like
No,
they're
I have
they
the fuck it. I'm subscribed to the collection, so every time they release a new movie, I see it. So I get that like they make a ton of movies and like some of them are popular, but like I see every movie that comes out is what I'm saying. Like I'm notified of every movie that comes out.
Yeah, like so they make because they're culty, but they're not like supremely like they're not a huge studio. And so the Northman was like this sort of like they went and they meaning just like the filmmakers, the whatever. Like this is like a $70 million movie or something like that. So like or
Yeah,
$40 million.
that's
Like
why I
it's
was.
a huge budget that like A24 does not normally mess with. But
Yep.
A24 does like a lot of like straight to digital and whatever. And so the deal it sounds like that they have with Showtime is not really unusual. Like a lot of distributors will have like deals with like some kind of outlet or whatever to like promote their thing or whatever. I don't know,
Yes.
but
Yeah, it was like a weird thing. I only found out about it and I only thought about it because I remembered it from when The Lighthouse came out.
gotcha. Okay, cool. But yeah, the Northman's great. I highly recommend it if you just want like badass Nordic revenge stories. But it's basically Alexander Skarsgård and Anya Taylor-Joy, and great, really, really good. So recommend that, and then I think that's it of note. So we have a Patreon page, Too Fast, TooForever.com. Shout out to Cassie Wilson, Ben Milliman, Nick Burris, Alex Ellenen, Justin Kleiman, Brian Rodriguez of High School Slumber Party,
Ooh.
back from a mini hiatus. Haley Gerbies, West Hampton, Jerry Robinson, Dan the Duke, Hayden, Renato DiDonato, Michael McGann, Lane Middleton, Lindsay Lewandowski, Nate Milton of the Kings of Sport, Jason Rainey, and Jessica Collins, a.k.a. Montez. Thank you all so much for supporting the $5 a month level or above. If you want to get in on the fun, again, Too Fast, TooForever.com. Even $1 a month gets you in the door, and you get to vote on the heist stuff. Very exciting.
It's super exciting. I think about Montez a lot now because the Pirates are playing baseball in the actual real life. Montez
Oh, yes.
is dating a pirate, so I think every time I see him, I'm like, man, Vanessa Hudgens' boyfriend is out here again. And I
Yep.
think about Montez as well.
Montez, the queen of the desert, queen of Coachella, Vanessa Hudgens, Gabriela Montez.
Yes. Which actually that was funny because he was batting and Rachel was like telling me like, oh, like she's at Coachella right now. And I'm like,
Mm-hmm.
that's right. She like has to be an influencer kind of person. He's playing baseball, so he can't be at Coachella with her, you know?
Yeah.
So she's just like running
Yep.
around Coachella taking Instagram pictures by herself.
Well, she's managed to turn the Coachella thing from like a joke into a thing that she like legitimately makes money on, and is like, people wait for her and like the outfit she's gonna wear. Like it's just it's weird, but like she's really made it work. So shout out to
Yeah, no judges on it. I'm
Montez.
just saying, just like, she's out there doing her job, and like you'd think it would be like, oh, we can go to Coachella together, but you're like, you play baseball, so you play like 6 games a week or whatever, and
Yep.
like he can't be there, so.
And it's not like it's really convenient. Like even if they were in LA, it's like it's 3 or 4 hours in by car. I guess they get a chopper or whatever. I don't know. It's not convenient. So
No,
shout out to Cole Tucker.
exactly.
Pirates shortstop. But yeah, toofast2forever.com if you want to get in, vote on every movie. We're picking someone for the heist. So if you want to vote on that, if you want bonus episodes, early access, access to the minute documents, the quiz, toofast2forever.com. We have an email address, family@cageclub.com. We get a handful of emails.
Ooh.
From Wes, subject line, heist lap, what up, fam?
What up, Wes? How are you doing, bud?
This was an email that he sent us basically as we were recording the last episode, so I think it's about maybe the one before or whatever, but he says, I'm excited for the heist movie Lap. Mrs. West and I love a good heist movie, like most of the world, it seems.
By the way, feel better, Mrs. West. We know that she banged herself up.
Yes. Yes, she did.
So we know that she's catching up on Too Fast, Too Furious right now.
Her favorite podcast.
Her favorite podcast. So like when she gets to this episode, just know that we feel bad for you and that we hope you feel better.
Yes. Also, if you're, she's fine. She's gonna be fine. It's not like it's,
Oh yeah, she's totally yeah.
I just want people listening to be like, what happened?
Yeah, no, she's not dying. She's okay.
Wes says, I'm looking forward to checking out some that I haven't seen before along with Lap. Here are some quick notes. Jordan was a great guest. It was a lot of fun to have her back on the show after such a long time away.
True.
Your debate, argument, about the heist team was some of the best on-air content you've had in a while. It was a lot of fun listening to everyone try to justify their picks.
I'm glad that you liked it. I also greatly enjoyed it. And I really like this idea of building a heist team a lot.
I posted my suggestion of everyone building individual teams and having the patrons vote on a patron team before I realized you're also picking from every movie. That's a lot of characters to track. It's like the class action lawsuit of a heist team. In the end, each member will have like $1.27 as their payout. I'm still building my own team, and I'm sticking to just the F&F movies.
Well, you're welcome to do that, sir. I'm glad that you're playing along. Playing along at home is a lot of fun, so thank you.
Which brings me to my pick. Before anyone on the show made their choices, I was thinking Jesse, who is what Jordan nominated. I assume he will be on level with whatever the technology is at the time of the heist,
Fair.
so I'm not worried about that. But what the team really needs is a super mechanic. I know everyone in the movies now is a super mechanic, but they don't have just the mechanic specialist. It's the thing that everyone does. It's a role kind of taken for granted. Tej kind of started toward that path, but they made him the hacker. I hoped once Ramsey came in, they would have shifted him back to the mechanical-based stuff, but now he's just the tech guy. I want a MacGyver character, and I think that it realistically should be Tej in the films, but it definitely could have been Jesse if he hadn't died. I mean, in F9, they try to make it seem like his thing is circuits. It's like, that's not a thing that, there's no evidence that he's been circuits for for 2 decades.
That's true. And the thing with Jesse is like, he was like the designer, but we never see him really wrenching, right? It's always like Dom and Brian doing the work.
Mm-hmm.
So like,
True.
So that's my kind of caveat there if you want the mechanic. But it's amazing that you and Wes fell on the same theory because you picked Jimmy for his mechanic abilities in 2. So perfect.
Yes, and I think he messaged that to us on Facebook. I think he's like, you're thinking for Jimmy. It was the same thing for mine. But I'm like, I don't think we got that email yet. But yes, agree. Like, you need a mechanic. It's just a matter of.
I agree.
For the F2 minute on sets of wheels being actual wheels versus cars, I always assumed they were talking only about sets of rims, but now I'm not sure because Joey's argument makes sense too. We were saying that like Roman got put away for like
wheels.
Sets of wheels.
So Wes was on my side and thought it was rims as well. Rims
but
and
then
tires.
I made such a compelling argument. He's like, oh, maybe that's true.
I think you did.
The only thing I would say with the jail sentence is rims can be expensive and the penalty would be related to the value of stolen goods in his possession. So depending on the value of the rims, he might have gotten several years. Plus, it might have been a chop shop situation where someone else stole the cars and he's just taking the rims to resell them while the rest of the vehicles are divided up among other individuals. I'm leaning more toward Joey's interpretation now, but it could go either way.
I don't think we ever came to like a solid conclusion, but both made sense to me in different ways. Yeah.
Mrs. West got very lucky and ended up with a South by Southwest Platinum badge this year, and it was at the South by Southwest premieres for Everything Everywhere All at Once and The Unbearable Weight of Massive Talent, both movies that I've seen that I've talked highly about on this show.
Yes.
For Unbearable Weight, she happened to be sitting just 10 feet from Nicolas Cage. Oh my God. Pedro Pascal and Jimmy Simpson, who was there for other projects. She liked them both a lot, but she couldn't stop talking about how much she just loved Everything Everywhere and how much she wanted to see it with me. I took the day off on Monday. We finally made time to see it together. I loved it, and luckily knew nothing about it going in.
I don't know anything about it. I'm planning to watch it soon. Rachel's hype on it, and I just saw like semi-press tour stuff about it on like the morning news as I was drinking coffee this week, so I'm excited.
It's great.
Everybody that I trust has said it's great. Actually, my sister asked me about it too. She was like, "Do you think this movie is good?" Because like a lot of people I don't trust say it's good, and I was like, "That's funny," because like everybody I do trust said it was good. So
Yeah, let's see what the actual what the number on Letterboxd is at right now, because it was at a 4.6 average, which is just absolutely insane. Everything, everywhere, all at once is still at a 4.6. So,
insane, yeah.
yeah. One last thing right before I started writing this, I saw Vin Diesel's post about the new movie. Well, this is an old post because there's newer posts about the movie.
Oh
We
yeah,
finally have a title and a logo after F9 and his photo of his kid with FX shaved his hair. I wouldn't have been surprised if that had been the title. I also thought it could be Fast X Furious because it sounds like Fast and Furious. Fast X makes the most sense to me though because we've known for a long time that it's going to be a two-parter but didn't know what to call them. I'm now 95% sure we're going to get Fast X and Furious X. F6 was originally going to be two movies. The first one just called Fast and the second one called Furious, so this fits that theme. To be honest, I don't hate it. In fact, I like it more than calling them Part 1 and Part 2.
agreed.
The only thing I'm dreading is the inevitable resurgence reworking of the Fast 10-year seatbelts meme. It's my least favorite joke about the franchise, and it never dies. I will, however, be okay if they want to use it in the marketing as a wink to the fans.
Which
Well,
they
already
did.
did.
Yeah.
Yeah. In fact, if they don't use it in the marketing, it's a real missed opportunity. It's a lot like the going to space thing. It was such a played out joke that I dreaded them doing it, but I think there's a way to do it that says they recognize the memification of the franchise while still being clever and not becoming a parody of themselves. That's it for today. Until next time, stay furious, Wes. But I think it's a good point.
I agree that if they go Fast X Furious X, I will really enjoy that better than Part 1 and Part 2. Or 10 and 11, or any other iteration of that. It works best.
Then, later that day, someone bought 4 t-shirts of Brian Supra from our shop. I don't know why you bought 4, but thank you, whoever that is. Bought 4 copies of Brian Supra. Don't know the size, don't know the color, don't know anything about it, but
The
4
new
t-shirts,
logo.
so thank you. Yes, the new logo.
That's awesome. Congrats. Wow. I wonder who, but why did you need 4? Now I have many questions.
I know. I don't know.
I have so many questions now. Damn it. If you bought the 4, please tell us who you are.
Yes, please.
And
let us
why
know.
did you need 4? I mean, like, I'm happy you bought 4. Like, do you literally have 4 friends that also listen to this show? That's insane to me. 3 friends.
I doubt that. It's probably 4 different colors for the same person. I don't know.
Yeah, okay, yeah, I need an explanation, please.
Family@cageclub.me. Although if you're buying 4 shirts, you know the email.
Yeah.
Almost certain. Then we got a YouTube comment, which is actually productive, a good comment. Stephanie Page commented
Okay.
on our video for the Long Kiss Goodnight, which we covered a couple Christmases ago.
Yes.
And Stephanie said, I'd love to see Dove Cameron or Lily Reinhart play Sam's daughter in a future sequel. And Sam's daughter is Gina Davis, the main character.
Yes.
So do you know Dove Cameron, Lily Reinhart? Do you know those names? Or those
Nope,
two
I don't.
millennial, 2 Gen Z names for you?
2 Gen Z names from you.
So Dove Cameron has one of the biggest songs in the world right now with Boyfriend. It's always on the radio.
Okay.
She was like in The Descendants. She was on Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. She's been in a bunch of places.
Okay.
And then Lily Reinhart's one of the stars of Riverdale. So,
Okay.
2 attractive, popular, Gen Z type, millennial fan, whatever, to play Gina Davis's daughter. So,
be
agree.
pretty
I would
cool.
love more Long Kiss Goodnight. Next email also from Wes, or once again from Wes with no subject. He says, what up, fam?
What up, Wes?
I remember when Millennium came out. This is the show that I was saying that was made by the guy who made The X-Files, but isn't very good.
Yes,
I
yes,
remember
yes.
when Millennium came out, I was so hyped on it because it was late 90s and I was 12. I don't think I watched more than a handful of episodes. I love The X-Files, but never made it through Millennium, which, agree. Hard agree. He says, this was a tough choice for the heist crew member. Oh, this is for Too Fast. He says, Monica was my first thought, Monica Fuentes.
Yes.
Because she's the most competent, but she's a cop and doesn't seem like she's ready to turn bad.
Yep.
Maybe instead I'll pick Suki because the fact that she did the jump in the first race tells me she has no problem fully committing to a plan and rolling with the punches, even when the outcome isn't certain. Feels a little weak to me, but it's a shallow bench to pull from here. Until next time, stay furious, Wes. Well, I will unveil now. I actually don't know the final. Okay, of course. Of course. So
Tied.
team choice number 3. So in third place with 2 votes, 25% of the votes. We had 8 votes. 2 votes went to Monica Fuentes, nominated by John Brooks.
Okay.
And then, Joe, you know what it means. If third place has 2 of 8, that means the first, tied for first, with 3 votes each, Jimmy, as nominated by me, and Tej, as nominated by you, are both the winners, or not winners, but whatever. But they'll both be in the pool to be drafted at the end of the lap. So, congratulations to Tej and to
Jimmy.
Jimmy.
MC Jin.
I am now 3 for 3. I mean, one's a tie, but compelling arguments. I'm looking for all the little victories here.
Yeah.
But thank you for writing in, Wes. I don't know. Actually, I want to see if Wes, I think because I looked earlier. Oh, Wes did vote. He voted for Jimmy. Okay, cool. Because I was like, remember he was like, oh, the same thing. He just wrote in that email or whatever. And then at one point he hadn't voted yet. I'm like, I need this vote, Wes. You clearly side with me. Come on, man. And then he did. So, oh, from Alex for the heist for Too Fast, subject line 2F2F.
Okay.
Dark horse heist candidate from 2, Fonzie. I mean, he clearly has some legit creds. He ends up in Jaconde's crew in Furious 7. What aren't they telling us?
Interesting. That's a good point.
Good, very good point.
But is he playing the same character? Because he's like a stunt. Are we sure it's Fonzie playing Fonzie and not Fonzie playing someone else? But yeah, that's a good point. If it's the same character, yeah, he has some dark history going on, and might be way more competent than we think he is.
I agree. We have one more email that I will get to when we get to the news segment, but if you want to email in family@cageclub.me, please and thank you.
Yes.
I also want to check. I have not checked in a while. Let's take a look on iTunes, on Apple Podcasts, and see if anybody new. I have the tendency to like just search for Apple on my phone, and it's like, no, everything's Apple. Just call podcasts.
Yeah.
Any new reviews? No new reviews since Lane reviewed us in October. So if you want to leave us a nice review, 5-star review, hopefully, please, thank you. Go to Apple Podcasts or wherever you leave reviews, whatever you listen to, wherever you listen, and just do that thing, please and thank you. But Joe, on the streets, news about the Fast and Furious.
There's some news.
So I'm gonna go chronologically because it was like good news, interesting news, and then okay. But first off, Helen Mirren's like, I hope I'll be back. I hope you'll see me. So probably cool.
Very cool, yeah, and we hope so too. We love Helen Mirren. We talked about this before. Like she kind of transcends the Hobbs and Shaw, Fast and Furious feud situation. So like, give us more Helen Mirren. I'm fine. Put her in everything. I don't think anybody will have a problem with it. She transcends them having a tiff.
Then Charlize was posting pictures on Instagram of her in an elevator, it looks like, with a couple dummies that she beat up, and she says she's back, baby. Hashtag at FastX at the Fast Saga.
Which we assumed. I mean, there's no way that Charlize was not going to be in Fast.
Correct.
Yeah.
Yep. And then she posted again, look who decided to join the party. It's a picture of her and Momoa, and the Fast Saga replying to that with fire emoji, fire emoji, fire emoji.
Beautiful.
So then while that's going on, Vin Diesel, Mr. Vin Diesel, posts a couple of things to Instagram. He posts a very long, overly emotional, I don't say it in a bad way, but just, we were talking about this because this was a big thing on Twitter. This kind of went, it went viral in a way that kind of annoyed me because I'm like, I put so much effort into like things that we do here and nothing really goes viral. And then me just saying like, hitting us in the feels has like hundreds of likes. I'm like, God damn it. Anyway. You were saying it reminds you of Kanye, and I'm like, I think it's because it's like overly emotional in a way that
it's
like
that, and it was kind of like stream of consciousness. Like it was like one of those things where like if you're sitting there drunk and like he's talking, and he's like, yeah, I was thinking about it, and then I was thinking this, and I was thinking this, and you're like, okay, like you could have made a nice fit to print version of this, right?
Yeah, so in case people have not seen this yet, here, I'm going to read it, because
Okay.
it's not been edited. Like, sometimes with, like, celebrity things, there'll be an Instagram post, and it'll be, like, edited, and it'll either be, like, less crazy, or, like, there'll be, like, no comment or whatever, just, like, somebody was just like, hey, let's rein it in or whatever, right?
Yeah.
Like,
Yeah.
not edited. So this is the original. It's always been, yes, it starts, yes, your opinion has always mattered. Don't know who he's talking to exactly. When the F10 script came in, it excluded Mia Toretto.
Which sounds a little skeptical. I'm a little skeptical of that.
So we think about it, she leaves 7 with Brian because Paul dies, and then they bring her back for 9, but it feels like now she's firmly in there, right? So like,
why would she not have been included in the script? It doesn't make any sense to me.
Someone whom I've attributed the brotherhood of Dom and Brian to, I was so disappointed that I couldn't see how I could continue. And I do want to point out, so Fast X, the new script, the new screenplay, was written by Justin Lin and this guy Dan Mazu,
Okay.
who wrote Wrath of the Titans and nothing much of note. So it's basically a Justin Lin script, right?
Okay.
After all, I wasn't going to make another Fast unless Brian was back in 4, so going all the way back to number 4. I don't need to remind you of the studio's petitions. You sent the studio for Letty's return at the end of 5. I think he's talking to the fans, I think, right?
Yeah, this is all your opinion matter. It's
Mm-hmm.
definitely like he's speaking directly. Like, it should have started out, yes, fans of the Fast and the
Mm-hmm.
Furious. Like, if you just add that, boom. Okay. See,
Side
edit.
note, he
Edit.
writes. Yeah. Side note, he writes, you will never believe who corrected the very important role of Mia, my daughter, the alpha angel, who told the director very plainly and honestly, no Mia, no Fast 10. Haha. The irony is that the day she was born, I was filming with Jordana and Paul, and it was Jordana who I first told. Profound, right? There isn't a
Yeah.
day that goes by that I don't want to turn back time, talk Pablo out of heading back to LA that Thanksgiving weekend.
Which is
Oof.
kind of a shitty.
I mean, I can't imagine. Like, thankfully, I have not had like a really close friend die, so I can't imagine, like, literally making a thing with somebody that you've worked with for 12 years, and then just like, it's like you going to Pittsburgh and then like, you know what I mean? Just gone, right? So just like, I
That,
can't imagine.
but it's like, what would you have said? Like, if I'm like, hey, I'm going back home for Christmas, and you've been like, man, I wish I would have talked you out of going home for Christmas, and you're
Yeah,
like,
I don't know. Like, I don't really hold it against him because I think it's grief being like, I wish things were different. Like, I wish he hadn't died, but it's still like, it's not, it's not your decision or it's not what, I don't know, whatever. Every Fast film I make must at the core always honor my brother Pablo. In the real world, I will always look after his family because in the real world, he is family. When his daughter asks me to walk her down the aisle, I tear up and then do with pride and honor. When his mother asked me to bring Brian back to the screen, well, I don't have to tell you how serious I take that. Fast could never have been here without the profound love and brotherhood between Dom and Brian established in 2001. Yeah, I'm talking too much, but damn. Life is short and your comment touched me and hit a chord. Thank you for
whose
believing in
comment?
me, in us. No idea. I won't rest until I make you, him, and the universe proud. All love, always.
Yeah.
So then Jordana says, I love you, brother. So this post has like 1.7 million likes. Jordana says, I love you, brother. Got 15,000 likes. Michelle Rodriguez responds and said, ain't that the truth? That's 4,800 likes. Tyrese says, vroom. Love the poetry, love your heart. That's got 9,000 likes.
Wildly, wildly off base, Tyrese. But thank you for joining in again.
So then people are commenting on this post, like the original post for Fast X, like the day one, whatever. And he's like responding to people, and like these are kind of edited, so who knows what, but like he's like listening, taking these things to heart, and like responding to fans, just like this clearly means so much.
Okay.
Then 5 days ago, he posts a 20-second video with him and Justin Lin. Did you watch this yesterday?
I saw a screen grab of it.
No, you need to watch this. I'm going to put the audio in here. So listen
Please.
to this. It's 19 seconds long.
What do you think, Justin?
Week 1. Just finished week 1.
How does it feel?
Feels like the beginning of an epic ending.
Is it fair to say that this will be the best one?
In my heart, yes.
Okay, he's very reluctant.
So this video, as you just heard, is Vin basically saying, like, isn't this thing that we're making the greatest thing? And Justin Lin's like, yep.
Definitely.
And so that was 5 days ago. So then yesterday, as we record this on Tuesday the 26th, on Alien Day of all days, to ruin Alien Day, news breaks that Justin Lin has dropped out of directing Fast X. He's going to stay on as producer.
Wild.
But due to creative differences, he is no longer directing this film that just started filming last week.
What are they, like? Are they gonna use his script? Like, this is gonna turn into The Room so quickly.
I've seen, obviously, there's a lot of tweets, a lot of thoughts out there. Someone saying that they hope that we get a final frontier for Vin Diesel because, like, Leonard Nimoy directed Star Trek V. Which I
Okay.
don't think is very well received.
Okay.
The thing with Star Wars or Star Trek movies is that the even number ones are great and the odd ones are not as good.
Okay.
So I haven't seen any of them, but 5, last time I checked, 5's an odd number.
Yeah.
So I don't know that it's great. So, I mean, look, we try to be positive on the show. I would love one day to talk to Mr. Vin Diesel. I think it would be amazing.
Yes.
That said, there are very few people who have the power or the authority to, like, usurp Justin Lin. And even though we don't know what happened, I think it's kind of clear what probably happened.
Yeah, I think that the creative differences can only be between two people.
Because, like, Chris Morgan left. Like, right? Chris Morgan is now on the Hobbs and Shaw side of things.
Which is
So
that could have been bad or could have been fine. We don't know, but it's like that's a choice. And he's like, hey, you know what? Hobbs and Shaw starting. I'm just gonna head over there and do all the Hobbs and Shaw things. And you're like,
Yep.
okay, cool, whatever.
And so, you know, if you think about the architects of the franchise, there's basically three people, right? There's Vin Diesel, there's Chris Morgan,
Yep.
and there's Justin Lin.
Yep.
And one of them is gone. And now it seems like maybe the one pushed the other out to a certain extent, right? Like, staying on as a producer means you might not even be on set. You might just be, like, you know, watching dailies or even, you know, who knows?
And what we always say is, like, there's great tonal and story shifts when Justin Lin is not involved.
I've said this, after you said this, like, it unlocked something in my mind. I kept saying it for, like, every guest for a while. But your whole idea of, like, looking at 9 like it was Fast 4 and being like, you know, 5 was so good, so imagine what he's going to do with 10. I'm like, that's so...
Yeah.
You're right.
Yeah.
And now, don't know.
And he seemed that he had ideas, right? Like,
Apparently that did not include Jordana Brewster.
but I don't think that he could have... See, this is what's so hard for me to believe, is that, like, okay, we say that, right? We talk about, like, you know, the 4, 5, 6 arc. The other thing that I argue all the time is that he gives us so much fan service. Is Vin trying to take the credit for the fan service with that first post and be like, it's me who, like, is the one that goes to space and stuff? Or were we somehow falsely attributing the touches that exist in Justin Lin Fast and the Furiouses about fan service, which I think can't be true because they don't exist in, like, 8 and 7, right?
Yeah.
Like, those aren't as, like, quirky and weird and don't have the, like, surreal or superhero moments or going to space or any of these things that we get in 9 that I'm like, oh, fuck, look, like, Justin Lin's back. Like, we get these again. But Vin takes credit for it with the first post of being like, I brought Jordana Brewster back, I brought Letty back, I brought Paul back.
Well, not even taking credit. He's just like, I listened to you, the fans. Like, it almost feels preemptively like he's like, you know what's up, and I want to listen to you.
And I'm going to deliver for you.
Yep.
But I don't think that he did in 8 at all. And Justin Lin wasn't there. So I'm saying, like, the you could say that, but the evidence is kind of pointing me in a different direction here.
Yeah, you're not wrong. So the question now is who's going to direct it. It feels like the obvious answer is Vin Diesel.
Yeah.
In spite of his celebrity and his proximity, I don't know that Universal would trust a $200 million or whatever it's going to cost project to essentially a first-time director. I know he did Los Bandoleros. I know he's done, like, you know, short films or whatever. But, like,
okay. Like,
as far as movie making is concerned, he's a first-time director.
Yes, I agree.
So he seems like the obvious choice, but also a long shot.
Very long.
Reaction Rocket and Vivek were talking in our Twitter replies, and Vivek says James Wan doesn't seem to have anything on his plate other than Aquaman 2, but that seems like 2 huge movies to do at the same time. I don't know if that's going to happen.
Yeah, because it's like, it started shooting, so, like, they're going to send everyone home? What script are they using? Can they make parts of the movie without a director? Doesn't seem like it.
So in theory, like, when you're making a movie, there's, like, the second unit director who does, like, stunt work, because that's generally stuff that main cast is not in.
Okay,
I mean,
yeah.
it depends on the thing, but, like, you know, classically, like in the 90s movies, like helicopter stunts and whatever, it's people who, like, aren't, you know, it's not Arnold Schwarzenegger jumping out of a helicopter.
Yeah.
It's just like, it's a guy that looks like him or whatever. So generally, historically, you could do that kind of stuff, but
you have the cast on set, so you're just going to let them
cast
sit?
on set. You're literally filming. You started filming last week, so
Yeah.
it doesn't bode well, I don't think, for the release date of whatever I said, May whatever, April whatever next year. So we'll find out.
It's gonna be a wild ride, man. And this like producer thing, like, are you just a producer because you wrote most of the script? Are you actually gonna be the producer? I don't know. I'm very curious about it. Just actually just gave me a bunch of questions. Like, I don't really have like thoughts or opinions on it. I love Justin Lin. I would love him to have been the director of this movie. I think that you can definitely tell which ones Justin Lin directed, and I think that he's core to the franchise, like you said, like a very, very, very important part. But now I'm just like more curious than anything, because like, what if Vin does direct this and it's like bad, just bad, bad, you know,
I don't know.
and then he has to like eat the shit sandwich of like the okay, well, like you kicked off Justin Lin, you made a terrible Fast and the Furious to end this, I kind of want to see the chaos of that.
I mean, so like Vin obviously, and I don't doubt this for a second, that Vin wants to put out the best Fast and Furious movie possible.
He
right?
absolutely
Like,
does. His
this is his
intentions are
baby.
good. I agree, 1,000%.
But
It's like fucking Elizabeth Holmes and Theranos over here. Like, like I have a really great idea.
just need one drop of blood, just a little bit of blood. All right, we just need like a normal amount of blood. So we have one more email though.
'Kay.
Subject line: Nas can't melt steel beams.
Ooh.
And this email is signed No Knees Deep Throat Denise. This is our source on the inside. And says, guys, I just heard Justin Lin step down as director of Fast X, and I noticed he was a little blinky in the video Vin posted last week.
A little blinky.
Turns out he was using Morse code to send a message. His blinks spell out, and here is the thing that is sent to us by No Knees Deep Throat Denise. And if you translate that, it says Paul is alive. So
Well, I mean, Vin already confirmed it in his Instagram post fucking before that, so don't worry about it.
So thank you to our source on the inside, No Knees Deep Throat Denise, who decoded the Morse code.
Of Justin Lin's eye blinks.
Yeah.
Blink this Morse code if Paul is alive.
Anyway, if you want to email us, family@kateclub.me. We got things up in the air.
Yeah, what do you got? Do people want Vin to direct F10? Like, is that a viable option? Does that sound like it would work to like people that are fans?
I don't know.
That's what I'm curious about. Okay.
Don't know. Is Dwayne Johnson... What if The Rock... What if The Rock directed Fast 10?
That would be fucking incredible. He's
Vin,
like, I'm gonna bring in my
that
team.
we know that you need a new director, and we love you, but there's somebody that has a little bit more box office draw, maybe a little bit more behind the scenes magic. We're gonna go with Dwayne.
What if The Rock just really hated Justin Lin and not Vin Diesel?
And he hated Vin Diesel because they were fighting about Justin Lin. It's
Yes.
just like, this is my guy, and Dwayne's like, that guy sucks.
Yeah, exactly.
He's a jabroni.
Yeah, candy ass. And then and now The Rock is definitely going to be in Fast X because now Justin Lin's gone. He's like, well, you got rid of that goober. So.
I'm assuming that's not the case, but
Same.
maybe it is. You never know.
We have no idea. Just thinking.
But Dwayne Johnson's still not in Fast X, but he was in Young Rock Season 2, Episode 7, and Understanding.
Yes.
And I feel like there's a couple things, like, this is sort of telling like a before and after story, I think, in a couple different ways about high school Dewey becoming a country singer, which who knows if that's going to pay off, but his parents meeting, and then also, we see Rocky getting close to Vince McMahon, but also seeing him in the young Dewey storyline, right? But in this storyline, we see the fallout of that, he tried to do too much and got kicked out or whatever, right? So I think they're doing some interesting things in the storytelling that the show normally kind of doesn't do. So I thought it was kind of interesting in that way.
When I saw it was a middle Dewey episode, I was kind of like, these aren't usually my favorite, but this one I thought was the best of those for sure. I really did like the storyline. I like the mom and dad meeting parts. I don't know how it really plays into the story. This felt like kind of like just a side quest.
Yeah, I don't know, and it feels like, and I don't know the history of his parents. I don't know, but it feels like they get divorced based on this episode.
Yeah,
I don't know if that's the case or not, though, but it seems like it's setting up the dad's doing stuff. Like, I know they're obviously fighting, they're working through some things, but the way that it was like the story was told, I'm just like, is this like the beginning of the end? And I don't know.
Yeah, I'm unsure, but it does feel like that to me too. It's just like creative differences, right? This is like,
It's it's Vin and The Rock.
yeah, that's what I'm saying. Like, no, because these two people like actually love each other. They just like, one makes wild ass decisions and the other one's like a little bit more stable, and like they both love Dewey and they love each other, but like it's weird. No, because they're back together like when he's older, right? So like,
Are they?
yeah, there's like all those scenes like when he like comes back from like the Red Blacks, like dad
Oh yeah, like the
answers
college
phone.
stuff and stuff. Yeah.
So they definitely don't get divorced here, but like they were struggling.
The one thing I really liked about this episode is that we know where the name Dewey comes from because his diaper was a little Dewey. He's like, that's why you call me Dewey? So just like having a little bit of a wet diaper one time, and now he's Dewey forever, which is kind of funny.
That is cute. I do like a good like love will conquer all type story. You know what I mean? Like,
And that also feels very The Rock, right?
yeah, like like his dad pretty much quit wrestling so he could marry his mom, and like everyone was mad at both of them, and then like, yeah, that's cute. I really like it. He mentions family in this one, by the way.
What does he say?
You guys just pretended like your dad didn't like, totally fuck this up with Vince McMahon, and he's like, look, man, when it comes to family, you gotta do what you gotta do, or something along these lines. And I was like, oh, he dropped the family.
They also have in modern day, they have him sort of like what it's been like, what seems to be the season-long conflict of like confronting his bully.
Yes.
Just like effortlessly overcoming this by just like acting like a wrestler and just saying welcome to the show, and he does the eyebrow, just like, hey man, like I'm here, like let's work it out, and like the audience seems to eat it up. So just like, okay, sure, you could have done that like 4 episodes ago, but sure.
Yeah, he goes full The Rock, addresses it, calls him a candy ass, a jabroni, and then yeah, does the people's eyebrow, and everybody's like, okay, we're good. And it's like, okay, but we're getting close, man. It's weird. We're 4 days away from the election, according to this. So like my theory,
And I think there's probably 3 or 4 episodes left. So I think this season is going to take us right up to the election.
Night of the election, we don't know who wins.
Yeah, the season. Yeah, it's probably going to end on like and the results are in.
Yeah, okay, I think so too. But my theory of them trying to end that
In the real presidential cycle, it's too much. Like if we were a year closer, I can see maybe, but like
yeah,
I don't think 2 more seasons between now and then, right?
I agree. Yep.
Maybe for a re-election. Maybe if he wins, they're going for a re-election by 24, right? Who knows?
And then we just fast forward 4 years, maybe. Yeah, who knows?
Because I don't think that like the show is about him being president. I don't know. Like you could tell these stories at any point, right? Like you could tell them.
Yeah.
So, any other notes? Any other thoughts about this episode?
I like characters that like are well-meaned but do dumb shit.
Sure.
I feel like that's very realistic. So like, how much of this is exaggerated or drama? I think that part is conveyed very well. And I know a lot of people like that. I often feel like that myself. Like, you with the best intentions I did this, but like it all fell to shit.
Mm-hmm.
So I don't mind seeing more episodes of his dad doing that, and I think the dad is actually a really, really great. The mom too, in like this show, but both of them great characters. So
I agree.
Keep it rolling.
The only other thing that I have is that the episode starts with them talking about how he won a Tony for playing Jean Valjean in Les Mis. So
yes,
it's funny that we're thinking, between now and 2032, I guess he's going to be the lead in Les Mis basically and win a Tony for it. So
exactly, yeah, he's like, I was on Broadway.
Pretty funny. Joe, the final thing to do before we take a break, and I'm sighing, and you know why I'm sighing, is the Fast and the Furious minute 59. A minute I called.
Fast forward.
We just got here.
Yeah, that's a great name, by the way.
Sit down. So you, lit my man's car on fire. Is that right?
Yeah. I did. You see, I got a problem with authority.
I have that same problem. For me, it's cops in particular. Let's take a walk. Come on.
We just got here.
Now we're leaving. Let's go. Hey, come on.
So in this minute, Brian, Roman, and Carter join Monica in sitting down in Carter's booth. There's a tense standoff where Roman and Carter share a, quote, problem with authority. And even though they just sat down, Carter decides to bring them somewhere else as the minute ends. And the "we just got here" line is a line that Monica says in the minute because there was such buildup. I think this is objectively unintentionally hilarious because there was such buildup to getting to this thing. And being like, oh my God, he's staring at us from across the club. Like, we don't want to go over there. We're waiting for
him. She's going to send somebody.
You know, take a seat. We're in my booth, whatever.
Monica full decompress, right? Like, arms up, into the couch, fully splayed.
They sit down, and he's like, so you lit my guy's car on fire. Roman says, I got a problem with authority. He's like, me too. Let's go.
Yep, that's it. That's the whole thing.
And, you know, we just rewatched Too Fast for the episode last week, and I know that I was watching it like, oh, where's the next minute? And I didn't have as clear in my mind how much of a waste of a minute this was, because it's like, we got to the thing, we sit down, there's this whole, like, ordeal, there's, like, this bravado, there's this standoff, whatever, and then immediately, let's get out of here.
Yeah. And Monica rightly says, we just got here. I literally just sat down.
Yeah.
Do we think that this is like a cocaine reaction?
I don't know. So I think it's more just Carter being insane, right?
Yeah.
But so my question for you about the cops, right? Because the way that the minute is filmed.
I wanted to talk about this. Go ahead. Yes, please. Go ahead.
The movie makes it seem
as
like
if
Carter knows that Brian and Monica are both cops.
Yes.
So in literature, this is called dramatic irony, where the audience knows things that the character does not. In my mind, think about it rationally. I know that Carter is not rational. There's no way he knows they are cops because he would murder them. It's not like he's like trying to like prove to himself that he can like supersede the cops or whatever.
No.
So when he's like, for me, it's cops in particular, and like the music swells and we zoom in on Brian and Monica.
But he turns to Brian.
And Brian and Monica like awkwardly looking at each other.
But they're not. That's the thing. Brian and Monica are definitely not looking at each other because Monica is behind Carter. Mm-hmm. And when they finally show Carter's face again, she's staring kind of like into the distance, right? Like in between Brian and Carter.
It's so weird, and like the way that it all comes together makes it feel very, very soap opera-y. And I know that like this is not necessarily, this is again my least favorite Too Fast, but like any of the movies, this is my least favorite movie. But like it just makes it seem so dumb.
It does. It really, really does. Carter's definitely looking at Brian. I don't think Brian is looking at Carter. Brian should be looking at Monica, but he's definitely not, because that would be like a huge deal. If he's like, I hate cops, and he's like, huh? And just like turns. It's like,
right.
That would be pretty awful. So I think Brian's just kind of like gazing into the club, staring ahead, trying to not be like making eye contact. Like, oh shit, is he talking about me? So I thought that Carter might be looking at Brian being like, I have a hint that you might be a cop. But I think it's just like his grandiose welcoming kind of situation, because he like is looking at Roman as like in his mind as cops, and then he like looks at Brian to like see their reactions more so than accusatory.
I'm just trying to like, because the movie is saying to us Carter is going to hate to find out that these two are cops or former cops or working with cops, right? And like we know that he's a criminal.
Yeah.
Like, it's not a surprise that a drug lord hates cops. So, like, what are you telling us here?
I think it's just for dramatic tension for when they reveal that there's another cop, right? And he's going to, like, torture the rat detective. Watching it in 1 minute segment, it plays really badly.
There is one great thing in this minute, though.
Tell me.
Which I don't know if I've noticed before.
What?
But as they're leaving, Roman reaches for the spare cigar.
I have not noticed this, and I'm glad that we like watched this minute specifically for this.
Carter goes, hey, come on. And just like stop.
Hey,
like,
leave it.
You know, he takes what he wants. He takes his cutter. He takes the cigar he's smoking, but he leaves him behind. And Roman, just being Roman, goes for it. And he goes, hey, come on. So.
No, he says, hey, leave it, I thought.
He says, now we're leaving. Let's go. And then he says, hey, come on.
Okay. But yeah, and also he just got in trouble for stealing the cigar cutter earlier, and he goes to steal from him again. Amazing.
Fool me once or something, right? Is there
Yeah.
anything? Is there anything you noticed in this minute? Because like it's the same thing. There's nothing going on. It's such a weird waste of a minute for our purposes.
I really like the shot of the two guys, Elion and Fidel.
At the very end, the very very end.
Yeah, the very end of them before, like, facing them before they come down the hallway. I think that's a really good shot. I like the hallway, but there's also nothing in this hallway besides, like, fuzzy, circled, red club bullshit. And, like, a couple candles at the back. It's like, very, very weird that you'd... What is this for? Like, who goes in this hallway? And why is it decorated but also not being used? Like, it's not even like a hallway to the bathroom or something like that. You know what I mean?
Did you mention the two people that passed by at the very very end too?
No, but they're like outside. It's like not even the same place because like the hallway doesn't lead to there.
Well, like as they are walking down this hallway and Elliot Fidel, there's like a quick insert shot, but then there's like a man and a woman walking by behind them, like looking at like, ooh, what's going on over here? It's just like I don't know where this is. I don't know what I don't nothing about it makes sense.
Yeah, I don't either. And the goddamn it, the Pearl is a Haagen-Dazs now, and we can't go check it out. Maybe this is like...
What if the upstairs the Haagen-Dazs was just like a club?
That's essentially what it is.
Yeah.
No, like the Pearl was upstairs because there's like shots of it, and it was like on the second floor, and the Haagen-Dazs is underneath where it is, but in the same address. Like I think they just took out like they like blocked off like what would be like the street level entrance to go up to the club, and that's the Haagen-Dazs, and the club is still above. Like if you like look at the pictures of where the Haagen-Dazs is, there's like still like the rooftop situation.
Very exciting. Very exciting stuff.
So we need to go to the Haagen-Dazs and be like, you gotta take us upstairs.
I'm down to take a too fast road trip, but we have to do the first movie first because like there's actual things supposed to like, oh yeah, we'll go to Too Fast and we'll go to the Haagen-Dazs that was once the Pearl. It's like, what? Why? What are you guys doing?
Yeah, it's so strange. Yeah.
So for the first time in about 10 minutes, a song from the score kicks in, Whitworth and the Rat. So Rat Cop is Whitworth by David Arnold. The trivia question, I don't know if this is a great one, but I don't know another one.
I thought the same thing. I didn't even look at yours until now, but
it's
but I got a better answer
like,
for one. Go ahead.
Quote, what is like what's the right thing, what's the wrong thing? So for minute 59, what does Roman have a quote problem with? The answer is authority. I wrote in there for Carter's line, cops in particular, and then I also have the law and the man, but you said you have a better answer for one of these?
Yeah, like women.
Okay.
And then being hungry for another one. Caloric intake or something real stupid. What?
He's hunger.
Yeah. What do you have? I got a problem with hunger.
When Roman and Carter are talking in the Pearl, what does Roman say he has a, quote, problem with? The answer is authority.
Yeah.
You see, I got a problem with authority.
With
Although,
hunger.
like, Ellie and Fidel are not authority.
Yeah.
In no way are they authority.
No, you're absolutely right. I didn't think about it until you just said that. Like,
what an idiot.
Like, they aren't cops. Like, did he think that they were cops? No. They're like the drug lord's henchmen. You knew this. They had just met them. He definitely knew this.
No, he's just punking guys who are following him. Like, I understand that, like, he doesn't want them, like, tailing him or whatever, right? Like, I don't want to say it's justified to light these guys, you know, car, like, the windshield on fire, but, like, it's not because they're authority. It's because these guys are, like, following after him, right? So...
Yeah.
I don't know, but minute 59, we just got here. Roman has a problem with authority.
Yeah, he
Respect
does.
my authority. All right, let us take a break, and let's come back and talk about Point Break.
Welcome back to Too Fast, Too Forever. This is episode number 236, Point Break. This episode's brought to you by Magic the Gathering. When thieving skydiver enters the battlefield, if it was kicked, gain control of target artifact with converted mana cost X or less. Shout out to Magic the Gathering.
Well, shout out to Magic the Gathering once again. Welcome back to Too Fast. Now we're talking about Point Break, the second pit stop in this heist lap. Now, I'm trying to think. Obviously, we've both seen this movie multiple times before. Seen it a bunch. We both love it.
Yep.
Had you seen this before my quote-unquote going away party when you came to visit?
I was actually going to say that. No, I had not. I am very thankful to all of you guys. It was a fun way to view this film for the first time. When Joey was moving to Texas, he had a going away party with a bunch of his friends, fantasy baseball league people that I know now. We watched it, outside Ben's house.
Yep. Mm-hmm.
On a projector screen with a bunch of Larson, Mike Manzi. There was a bunch of people, maybe Jordan and Kara too, right?
Maybe. I remember
Kara
for sure
might have
Mike
been
was there
there.
because he gave me a gift, and I know Larson was there because I remember Larson being like, where have you been hiding this kid? Just so in love with you.
Yes.
Duke might have been there. I don't know. But yeah, this was 2014. Ben was just like, hey, after it gets dark, we'll watch a movie in my backyard. I got the projector, blah, blah, blah. I just picked the movie. I'm like, okay, let me think about it. And then I was just like, oh, Point Break is one that if you've seen, you would see again. If you haven't seen, it's a movie that most people I think would enjoy.
And you
it
don't
was a
really
hit.
need to even if it's your first time watching Point Break, if you're not super paying attention, it's not awful, right? It's still gonna be a pretty good experience.
Well, so I think I've talked about this before, maybe not on this podcast. When I was living in Austin, there was this band who actually is from Pennsylvania, sort of near me now, called the Great White Caps. And I don't know, let me know if I've told you this before, but they did this showing at the Draft House, and it was called Point Break Rescored. Have I told you about this or
Yep,
no?
you have. Go ahead.
So this band, it's a surf punk band, surf rock band, said, we love this movie, but the thing about it is that it's a movie about surfing that has basically no surf music in it. There's no surf rock, there's nothing. It's just it's, score. It's like action score, it's 90s action score, whatever. So we are going to rescore the movie with surf music. And so they went on stage at the Draft House, and for 2 hours of the movie, they probably played for about an hour. And almost every time there's an action scene, they just played a song. And then whenever Tyler Ann, the Lori Petty character, and Keanu were having a tender moment, they would drop a disco ball from the ceiling, and they would play ballady, slow dance kind of music.
Awesome.
And I reached out to them years ago. I'm like, I would love if you have a track of you guys playing it or whatever. I would pay for it. I want it. They're like, no, we never recorded it, blah, blah, blah. And they just sort of seem to, maybe not broken up, but, they don't really do the thing anymore. And I was just like, man, it's so good because it's so awesome. And it's
Unique.
It's
Interesting.
not my preferred way to watch the movie, but it might be my preferred because it's so cool. You don't need to know what Patrick Swayze's yelling about in a bank heist. It's just when it's scored with strummy surf rock, it's yeah, this rules. So again, I don't think they do it anymore, but if you ever get the chance to see the Great White Caps rescore Point Break, go see it because it's amazing.
Yes, I remember this, and I think it sounds very, very interesting. But also, the score and the soundtrack of this movie are so fucking good, and I think that I can't imagine it with a different score and soundtrack. So, I'm glad that you enjoyed this. I don't know how I'd feel about it. I'm sure that, in the moment, I'd be like, this is awesome with, a live band and a disco ball. I think that's cool.
I think you would love it live. I don't know if having an MP3 and having it just kick on, having a 2 hour long MP3 that blasts at certain times, I don't know that would be fun.
I agree. So I was, now that I'm thinking about it, I'm like, I don't know how I'd feel about it. And it's definitely something that that is a way I don't want my first experience to watch this movie being.
For sure. No, I would agree with that. There's also, do you know about Point Break Live?
No. What is this?
So this is a thing that I think Larson might have staged productions of. I don't know, but there was a thing called Point Break Live where they would cast the entire thing. They would adapt this to the stage.
Okay.
And they would cast the entire movie, except they would get someone from the audience to play Keanu. So basically a non-actor would play the Johnny Utah role because
That's
the whole joke is Keanu's a terrible actor, blah, 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 whatever. I mean, Mike and I disproved that on Keanu Club. Go check it out. Whatever. But
I also think that Keanu is the least Keanu in Point Break.
For both Cage Club and Keanu Club, Mike and I did the awards at the end. One of the things that we did for Cage. We didn't do for Cage. We did for Keanu, because I'm like, I think I realized after the fact we should have done for Cage is like what archetype, like what character role, because obviously when you watch like 60 or 70 or 80 or whatever movies of an actor, you're going to see like certain things, like you get typecast like
Shirtless
Zeph as
and
like, you know,
yeah,
exactly.
crying, yeah.
Keanu has like a handful of different things. Like he's got like the stoner, which is like, you know, Bill and Ted.
Yep.
He's got like the blank slate, which is like the Matrix, where he can just kind of be whatever. He plays a villain in a handful of movies, but I think what he is best at is action, cop, FBI, whatever, where he's this and he's speed and whatever, because it's a combination of like, it's a type of a role that does not necessarily require great acting. He obviously has the physical chops. He's handsome. He's charismatic. And like, it just comes together in a way that I'm like, he's built for this role.
Yeah, I think so too. But, you know, everybody always makes fun of Keanu for like, whoa, and like stuff like that. And like, I don't think he does it as much in Point Break as you get in like Bill and Ted's when he's hamming it up.
For sure. Well, I think what's interesting about this is that he is, in the movie, he's kind of acting like surf bro, like stoner Keanu, but he's not, right? Like
No, he's not. And they don't
he's
see
acting like
him
that
as
because he's undercover as a surfer.
Yes.
But he is, you know, a young, dumb, full-of-cum FBI agent, and he's like a good, like, you know, buttoned up whatever, but he just also is like, has to act undercover.
He's adapting.
So, yeah. So you get both Keanu's in this, I guess, really.
I think so too. But as I was watching it, that was like a realization I had, like, near to the end, that like he's not playing like as much as, you know, people make fun of. Like, I don't see that at all in Point Break. When it feels like he's playing a surfer guy, it feels like this would be like the most that he's like, whoa, big wave, right? And you're like, no, that's not what you get here at all, because maybe it is what you're saying, that he's like, you know, there's layers to it, that he's playing like an FBI agent who's undercover, who's learning how to surf. But like, even to them, he's like, look, like, I'm a lawyer, former football player that just came out here because like learning to surf, figuring my life out. So like, he doesn't even need to do it for them, because they know that he's an other already, right? Like, he's not trying to be precisely one of them.
For sure. I would assume anybody who's listened to the show, who likes the Fast and Furious enough to listen to a Fast and Furious podcast, has seen Point Break. If you have not, go watch it. It's on HBO Max.
Yep.
In case you have not seen it and you have not, you know, don't want to watch it before this episode, all you need to know is that it's the Fast and the Furious.
It's 100% the Fast and Furious. It's like exactly, yeah.
But, and it you know, I think it's objectively true in every way, and I don't really feel bad saying it, but like, it's Fast and Furious if it was good, right? Like, it's just like, if, like, I love Fast and Furious. I do think it's a good movie, but this is like, if Fast and Furious played by like stuff that kind of made more sense, it would be Point Break.
And like more 90s action-y, right? Like,
yeah, for sure.
Like, it has like a lot of those, and I think that lays into it, but it's definitely, the same storyline, probably more cohesive.
So it takes place in Los Angeles, just like our beloved Fast and Furious.
Yep.
And it's the bank robbery capital of the world. There's like, you know, 3,300 or whatever last year, or last decade or whatever. And, you know, the cops caught 3,000 of them. Keanu is brought in as this new young FBI agent recruit.
Straight out of Quantico.
Yep. So he is the Brian O'Connor role.
Yep.
And he's working for Gary Busey as Pappas, who is basically the Sergeant Tanner role to a certain extent.
Kind of, yep.
And there is this crew called the Ex-Presidents who are robbing these banks. And we find out later that they've done like 30 or 33 of them or something like that. Like, they've been successful like a bunch of times, led by Patrick Swayze, and they are basically our family, and Swayze is the Dom Toretto role.
Yes.
Just like Brian gets undercover with this racing crew, Keanu goes undercover with, you know, as a surfer, but like, unlike in the Fast and Furious, where like it's not revealed until the very end to, you know, Dom and Mia that he's a cop, like an hour into this, it's revealed, right? Because like, he's with Gary Busey, and like, they, you know, they're robbing a bank, and like, they see him chasing after him.
Yeah, they happen to be robbing a bank right outside of where they're parked, because they're kind of are they staking it out? Like, do they know that they're going to hit that bank? Okay. They like think that they're going to hit that bank. They're like, okay, like, we're going to stake it out for a couple days, and they like come running out of the bank with the money.
So like, an hour in, it's revealed, like, the jig is up. And you're like, okay, like, I wonder how this is going to go. And then Swayze's like, no, fuck it, this just upped the stakes. And like, he plays into it in a way that like, Dom at the end of one is just like fuming, like, you know, his friend, like, it works in Fast and Furious that, you know, Vince is hurt and that Brian's using his cop stuff to like, get medical attention, and like that works emotionally. But here it's just like, oh no, like this is how it would go. Like he's just like fucking with Keanu, and like, no, we're gonna make this work, and like I'm gonna abduct your girlfriend.
So what happens is like as they're running away, Keanu and Patrick Swayze have like an eye-to-eye contact thing. Although Patrick Swayze's wearing one of the dead president masks,
And this is in the LA aqueducts, the river, where we talked about like Fast and Furious should go, but really hasn't, even though like it happens in like every other LA movie.
Spy Racers even, yeah. And he like has a shot to shoot him, and when they make eye contact, he just fires into the air.
He cries out in anguish and shoots up in the air in a very iconic
Yeah, because he tears his knee up. So like the next morning, Patrick Swayze's like, "Come on, we're going skydiving," and he's like limping around. He's like, "What happened to you?" And he's like, "Hurt my knee yesterday." And he's like, "Oh shucks. Well, we're gonna go skydiving." And like he knows, they know. Yeah, okay.
So yeah, because so Swayze knows that Keanu's a cop chasing him.
Yep.
And Keanu knows that Swayze
is one of the bank
is
robbers.
a criminal and knows that Keanu is a cop, but nobody's saying that. Nobody's saying anything. And
Which is
so there's this
amazing.
whole scene.
Yeah.
It's so good. And there's the whole scene about like, oh, you take this parachute. And it's kind of like in Princess Bride, we're just like, I know that you probably poisoned one of these. And like, if I thought that, you poisoned mine, I should drink yours. But I know
is a great
that
scene.
you know. And so it's just like, okay, yeah. But he's just like, no, you should use this parachute. It's like, well, this doesn't
No,
work.
he's like skeptical of the parachutes. So Patrick Swayze's like, if you're skeptical of the parachutes, take mine. I'll switch. And then like they're like, well, what about the other guys? And he's like, yeah, well, take his then if you're skeptical of that one. And he's like, well, he packs some shitty, so take his. And then they like switch everybody's parachutes. And you're like, well.
And like we never get something like that in the Fast and Furious where like
No.
Dom is just like fucking with Brian. Like, I know that you're a cop and like I'm gonna make your life hell and like I might kill you, but like you never know.
And also there's like a slim chance that it's not him and he doesn't know that he's a cop. You know what I mean? Like there's still like a fine, like a hair thing that you're like we saw them make eye contact, but like we didn't see Patrick Swayze look at him. So like it might not be him.
What I also like in comparing it to Fast and Furious is that Tyler Ann, who is a surfer who works at Neptune's Net,
Yes.
where Keanu goes to order shrimp. So just like Brian, he can pay for his own shrimp.
Yep, exactly.
She's like this surf instructor or whatever, and she introduces him to the crew. But unlike Mia, she is like, she discovers things on her own, and she's like confident. She has like agency, and like she could be better still.
Yes.
But she's wiser and more independent, and finds his badge, and she's doing things in a way that, like, again, because this is directed by Catherine Bigelow, who obviously won Oscars for Zero Dark 30, or maybe was at least nominated. I don't know if that might have gotten snubbed. But she did Strange Days, which we covered, which we love.
Great movie. Yeah.
But, in the early 90s, late 80s, early 90s, whenever I don't know what the duration of the relationship was, but she was married to James Cameron. So he helped her with these kind of movies, and she helped him with like Terminator 2 and stuff like that. And so like that's such a powerhouse Hollywood couple. But it makes sense that for a female director to give the only female character in the movie like some agency, right? Just like she's not just the sister of the criminal and in love with the guy. It's like no, she's gonna find out that he's an FBI agent and like get pissed about it.
Yep.
It's cool.
It's really really cool. I love everything about that, and it makes sense that like if you have a female director, the woman doesn't suck as bad, right?
Yeah.
Not that the woman's just the role for her isn't as bad as it could be.
And Lori Petty's great. She's in League of Their Own, and she's Machine Girl or Tank Girl.
There was a really badass line that I heard this time that I had never heard before watching this movie, and it occurs when Keanu goes to the party at Patrick Swayze's house. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
And I never thought of the so many lines in this movie are just like cheesy bullshits, right? Like that are just like fun to say, don't really mean anything.
But they're like iconically quotable lines.
Yes, yeah, definitely. Just like the Fast and Furious, right? Like, but
Well,
ultimately,
I think more so. Like I love the Fast and Furious, but like I think these are more. Yeah, but yes.
ultimately they're all dumb shit, right? Like, like Utah Give Me Two, all of these things, right? Like they don't really mean anything.
Jump or jerk off.
Yeah, exactly. When he's there and like Patrick Swayze notices that what's the female's name? Tyler Ann. When he notices like Tyler and Keanu are having like a moment there, Patrick Swayze looks at him and goes like, this is my house. Take anything you want that's mine. Like him acknowledging that like this is my ex-girlfriend that we know, right? Like not the audience doesn't know that yet. You can kind of surmise, but he doesn't like overtly say it. But him being like, I know that you're flirting with this chick, and like, okay, you know what I mean? It was just like a really weird. I was like, oh, I've never caught that before. That like
I mean,
Patrick.
it's also like it makes sense because he's literally named Bodhi, like Bodhisattva, who's like a person who's able to reach nirvana,
Yes.
right? And so like it just makes sense that he's possessive or whatever because he's financially greedy. He's a criminal, but he's also peaceful and like, hey man, what's mine is yours, essentially, right? Like in a
Yeah, but I'm just saying, like, the awareness that, like, even if he's at this party, just doing tequila shots, eating the lime out of this girl's mouth, he's like, oh, I see what's happening here before it happens. Like, I have the awareness and foresight to be like, it's okay already. You know what I mean? And I give it my approval is such, like, a power move. You know what I
Sure.
mean?
yeah.
So, I think Bodhi's super
I mean, a
badass.
little possessive-y, which is
It definitely
not,
is.
not great, but
I'm going strictly from the context of like Bodhi doing it to Keanu, not knowing he's a cop yet, and still like feeling him out, right? It's like a
Sure.
very Dom type situation. Like, oh, like yeah, hey, you can have a piece of chicken. Come eat at the barbecue, right?
not really a fast connection. But we just did Heat as our last pit stop, and we have here Tom Sizemore as the undercover cop in in the house. And he's pissed off because Keanu like blew his cover, right? Because he does this raid, and he's just like, I've been here for 3 months. You think I like this hair? But I'm just like, oh, Tom Sizemore keeps showing up in the movies we're covering, which is cool.
Yes, yeah.
There's a lot of cool trivia. There's some good stuff. So Patrick Swayze was an accomplished skydiver and actually did his stunts there. He made 55 jumps in total. And for
That's-
many of the surfing scenes, he refused to use a stunt double because he didn't use one for the fight scenes, the car scenes, or the parachuting scenes. So he's like, I'm going to do the surfing ones too. So like just Swayze being amazing.
That's pretty badass. And if you really enjoyed skydiving, like as like a hobby, and you were like, I'm gonna be in this movie, we have to do skydiving, and they're like, well, we're gonna have to shoot it like 50 times. You'd be like, fuck yeah, I'm gonna do 50 skydives, you know? Like,
I'm pretty sure, I don't remember the exact number, but I'm pretty sure that for Mission Impossible Fallout, when there's like the Halo jump where
Yeah.
Cruise and Cavill go down, I'm pretty sure like Cruise like got super, like he did all those obviously himself because Tom Cruise is like a lunatic.
Yep.
But I think it's the same thing there where he's just like, oh no, I love this. And like he was just like going on like recreational skydives too, like while they were filming. It's like, what are you doing? Like, stop it.
anything that you enjoy as a hobby, if somebody was like, do this 100 times as part of your job, you'd be like, fuck yeah, I'll do this 100 times as part of my job. Cool.
I think a big thing that is great about this movie is the way that it looks. And so on the director's commentary for Strange Days, Catherine Bigelow was describing what she calls the Pogo Cam, which is this 18-pound camera with a gyro stabilizer that they took from a Steadicam. And it gave the Steadicam operator an idea of like what was in the frame as he followed the actors right next to me. So like a lot of the chasing, like there's, not only is it a cool like heist movie and a surf movie, but there's like a great car chase in here. There's
Yep.
a great foot chase that follows
Yep.
it. Like it gets action in like every way right. And it's amazing. And like it's not hard to see that like women in Hollywood deserve more of a chance, but like you see Catherine Bigelow, who's directing multiple movies that are just absolutely incredible. Like I think
Gorgeous. Yep.
like Zero Dark 30, I think is like one of like it's heavy as shit, obviously, but like I think it's one of the best movies that's ever been made. But she doesn't get as many chances as she should, and like it's just she should because it's incredible.
And
It's
how
so
many of
good.
the chances that she got were just because she was married to James Cameron?
Probably.
Right? Like, no offense to her at all, because she deserved them, but like, she probably only got a bunch of them because of this
Like,
relationship.
oh, maybe if we give her a job,
Yes.
she'll want to work with us or something.
Or any he calls anything, right?
Yep.
But like, either way, like that's fucked and unfair. But yeah.
She fought to have Keanu as Johnny Utah, saying she wouldn't do it without him. They were looking for someone more high profile, like Johnny Depp, which, okay.
Well,
Johnny Depp
he
in the
was-
news right now. Did you see in the trial that Amber Heard's lawyer asked a question and then the witness was answering it and he objected? Hearsay? They're like, Sir, you asked the question.
I've been following it vicariously through Rachel's updates that she gives me daily on things like that. So yes, I know of that. I did
That
not see
video,
it.
like it's not as good as the Vin Justin Lin one, but it's worth seeing to see this like bumbling lawyer, like in real
How
life.
did she get these lawyers that are so fucked? Is what I want to know.
He asks a question, the guy starts answering it.
But this
He says,
isn't the
"Objection,
first time he's
hearsay."
fucked this thing up because like he's had like a long like I don't remember them off the top of my head, but like Rachel's been keeping me updated, and he's done like a million dumb shits in court so
I mean,
far.
you don't object to the question you ask, and like that's the only screw up. You know what I mean?
That's
Like,
what. Yes, also true. Touche. Very fair.
but they were looking for Johnny Depp. They originally offered to Matthew Broderick. They were also offering to
Ugh.
Charlie Sheen, Willem
Matthew
Dafoe,
Broderick?
Val Kilmer.
Yuck. That
So
would
Val
be
Kilmer would have been
awful.
cool because just saw in Heat. Matthew Broderick would not have fit here, but the Charlie Sheen thing tracks because for both Keanu and Cruise, for much of the 80s and like early 90s, Cruise, as far as I can tell, not around here, but like Charlie Sheen just like looks like them and like was also in all these kind of movies and everything.
Makes
so I
sense,
think
yeah.
like every Cruise movie just like, oh, offer to Charlie Sheen, blah blah blah. So it makes sense that he would also be here too.
Yeah.
They wanted to do a sequel called Johnny Utah that they planned to make 2 years later, and they wrote a script. It was in pre-production, but even though this movie made $90 million, like it was successful, they're just like, yeah, we're not going to do it. So I don't know. I would imagine if it's called Johnny Utah, Keanu would have been in it, but
Yeah.
I don't know anything more about it. Just it was close to happening, and then got scrapped.
I'm torn with like, do I want a sequel to this or not? You know what I mean? But I also like, this could have been Fast and the Furious. We could have had 10 Johnny Utah movies, right? Like
2.2 break.
Yeah, exactly that, and then it would just have like morphed into John Wick at the end, right?
I looked up, because obviously for all the podcasts I do with Mike and everything, not for this one because this doesn't really work like this, but for all the podcasts I do with Mike, where I go through an actor, like I rank all their movies on Letterboxd, and I was relieved that I have this in the correct, like I didn't like make a mistake while we were doing it. I have this as Keanu's third best movie, or my third favorite Keanu movie, where it's Matrix, John Wick, and then this. But like they're all, they're all incredible.
Those
like
three,
this is
those
just
three are top tier. Yep.
Ridley Scott of Alien and a bunch of other movies. Most recently he did The Last Duel, The Last Duel, and he also did the Gucci movie with Lady Gaga. He directed both of those. He was originally the first choice to do this one, but instead he did Thelma and Louise with a young, hunky Brad Pitt in there. It was originally about skateboarding, so I'm sure that would have been fun, but like surfing is cooler, so I'm cool with that.
Yeah. Plus, you get them like, I mean, you can have Patrick Swayze shirtless, right?
Yes, exactly.
Which, I mean, I guess you could have him shirtless skateboarding, but like this is way cooler. Like he doesn't have to wear like knee pads or something weird. So.
Right. And the only other trivia that I have is that of particular Fast and Furious note is that it opened the same weekend as Boys in the Hood, directed by John Singleton.
Yeah.
So, pretty interesting. Oh, and then the car stuff, Bodie says that Johnny Utah's surfboard reminds him of the 57 Chevy that he used to have, and he drove a 57 Chevy in Dirty Dancing. Johnny drives a 70 Ford Mustang Mach 1. Pappas drives an 87 Caprice, and Bodie's truck was a 73 Chevrolet K-Series. So like I wouldn't normally look those out, but they were all in the IMDb trivia. I'm just like, for a car podcast, might as well mention them.
Yeah, and I think 57 Chevy is the same car as the 2-lane blacktop, right?
Is that a Bel Air though, or no?
I think that it was like essentially the same car, very, very similar back then. Oh
Possible.
no, sorry, my dad just bought a 57 Chevy.
But so we talked about the movie, but I think we should start off with, and I only have one person, but who are you gonna nominate for the heist? I think there's one option, right?
Yeah, it gotta be Bodie, right?
There's no. I tried the entire movie to be like, is there a case against Bodie? And kind of, but is there another option? And I think the answer is no.
I think you could take Keanu because he throws his badge at the end, and if you want, I will take Keanu because I don't think that he's a bad option. But with his knee, like his injury, Bodhi's just so much better. Like I would take Keanu if you want to have two.
I don't think I think it's just Bodhi because I think
okay, fair. That's fine
I'm
by
not.
me.
I don't love the idea of drafting cops, and I know that like he lets Bodhi go here at the end, but
And
I don't
tosses
think
his badge. And tosses
I
his
don't
badge.
think he's turning heel or whatever.
He throws his badge in the water though.
So he might not be in the FBI, but I don't think he's turning to a life of crime.
Also, fair. That's a very, very fair point. Maybe he's not a cop or in the FBI anymore, but he's also not going to like start robbing banks either. That's okay.
Right.
I get that. Yep.
I think just by that, but the case that I have against Bodhi, though, is that when he finds out that Keanu is on his tail and that the cops are like closing in on him, his friends are like, the guys he
Like
robbed
the
his banks
heat's
with, are just
on.
like,
Yeah.
they're like, let's call it. We've been successful. We shouldn't do this. We should stop. This is it. It's too risky. And he goes, no, man, it's a game now. Like the stakes are higher. And she's like, well, that's not great. But like, I do feel like to a certain extent, everyone who's going to heist a bank is going to like have that kind of mentality.
It's the same thing we just saw in Heat, right? Like, it's the exact same thing. But in this case, I kind of give Bodhi a little bit of a pass because he knows it's Keanu. And he knows that, like, the relationship and the power that he has over Keanu. So it's not like, oh, just like the cops are on us. It's like he directly knows who it is and that he thinks that he can be an adversary to him in some way.
And I think what he also does in terms of the preparedness, and like obviously scumbag move, but like having like an unhinged dude kidnap Tyler Ann.
Yeah.
Like he's thinking ahead. He's just like, okay, so like this is an issue, but I'm going to think ahead, right? And I'm going to be like, okay, yeah, like let's make sure that we know where this goes.
Not only that, but like the parachutes to get him to jump, kidnap her, show him at the end, make him rob the bank, everything all down the line. Like he's very well thought out, actually.
Yeah. So let's talk about the movie. I mean, we've already been talking about the movie, but anything in particular that you want to mention? Any other fast actions that you caught that we did not get through? Because it is really the cop criminal falling in love to like it's obviously Keanu and Tyler Ann in love, but it's also Keanu and Patrick Swayze in love, right?
So I had a question that I asked Rachel while we were watching this movie, and I want to hear your thoughts on it. They're so similar, lots of parody. We talk about this a lot. Point Break, Fast and Furious. Which one do you think is more homoerotic?
Ooh, I think probably this one, because I think it being rated R, they're just allowed to like everything. It's like this just feels like a sexier movie in general.
No, but I'm saying like, okay,
I know what you're saying.
The relationship itself. Who is more in love, Dom and Brian or Patrick Swayze and Keanu?
I think Dom and Brian are more in love.
But this one feels more homoerotic.
I think it just feels more sexual. So I think that like the attraction they have.
Yeah, it was hard for me to decide here, for sure. But I agree with you. I think that this one is definitely... It is sexier. It just, like, something about, like, the surfing. Like, they're so, like, shirtless all the time and stuff like that. That helps a lot. But I also think that, like, Patrick Swayze has, like, he has, like, more of a charm because he's more handsome than Vin Diesel is.
Sure.
You know what I mean? And I think that, like, Paul Walker is obviously super handsome, but Keanu can match that. So, like, you have, like, two really handsome dudes and, like, one dude that's, like, like, two pretty good-looking, like, one really handsome dude and a good-looking dude. And you're like, okay, well, this works.
No. I think, like, what I was saying, it's not exactly the question, but, like, how I started answering it, thinking about, like, I don't think I want an R-rated Fast and Furious, and I don't think I want a PG... I know I don't want a PG-13 one of these. But like,
Fair,
I think what the Fast and Furious does and tries to do, and like the way that it tells its stories, I don't think really works as an R-rated movie. And here, like, I think why this movie kicks ass the way it does is because it like doesn't really hold anything back. You know what I mean?
Yeah. Now I'm curious about like what would an R-rated Fast and the Furious movie be? And I think if the first Fast and the Furious was rated R, it would have probably been even worse.
I don't think there would have been I don't think there would have been a Too Fast if the first one was rated R.
Yeah, that's fair. I think that's a good point.
The 90s, also the 90s versus, even though 2001 is close to the 90s, you can even say like it's the most 90s, like 2000, 2001, whatever. Point Break is going for a very specific, like high octane, like balls to the wall action. And the Fast and Furious is like, we're going to try to make a box office hit to a certain extent. Like it's going to be like a little dirty, a little bit sweaty and like a little bit sexy, the first one, but like, we're not going to like preclude high schoolers from going. We're not going to need them to have a guardian or whatever. Where the Point Break's just like, no, we're going to tell the story you want to tell.
That's fair. Yeah, I can see that. I was really happy that when Keanu gets like beat up on the beach, right? By those guys, Warmonger, right? Isn't that the guy's name?
One of them I think one of them was Flea from the Chili Peppers.
Yes, I pointed it out to Rachel. But when he like fights with them and Patrick Swayze comes and saves him, he's just like, yeah, fuck those guys, they're Nazis. And I was like, hey, Patrick Swayze being anti-Nazi here. I guess it kind of he has such like a weird personality for me, being like a Cali surfer who goes by like Bodhi the Enlightened One, who is like free flowing and full of like spirit, then like anti-Nazi, but also loves college football for some reason.
Yeah, I mean, it all tracks other than I think his desire to rob banks.
Really, that doesn't fit in there either. I could see him like Robin Hood logicking this, like steal from the rich, give to the poor. I'm
But he's
poor.
not giving to the poor.
Yeah, but he's like, I'm poor.
Well, not after he robs 30 banks.
Well, he's just trying to like live his surf dream, and like this is the easiest way to do it. So
I understand that. Yes, I know why he's doing it. The movie explains that. I get
Yeah.
that. I'm just saying, peace and love. Take what you want. Blah blah blah.
do they hurt anyone during the bank robberies? I'm thinking about it now.
I don't think so, because I think why the last one goes amiss is because he gets greedy, and I think it's because he knows it's the last one, or he wants to show off for Keanu, or he's blinded by love, or whatever, right?
Yeah,
But like,
yeah.
it's in and out, 90 seconds, nobody gets hurt.
Okay, so that plays along with like I'm gonna rob the bank, but like we're not shooting anyone. We're not gonna do anything weird. Like just like rob the bank quickly, get out, keep the money, go surf. That's what we do.
Well, I think that like what these movies seem to suggest is that like robbing banks is not hard. It's just that when people get greedy or dumb, that's where things break bad.
I often wonder like how hard is it to actually rob a bank, knowing stuff like this, but I don't know.
I think, and again, I have not robbed a bank, and I'm not planning to rob a bank. Hello, FBI. But I think that also, given the fact that like the bank managers and stuff are like basically encouraged to like let you have the money because like you're gonna get caught.
Yeah, very very
So,
true.
What did you think of Gary Busey? We have not really talked nearly enough about Gary Busey. What do you think of Gary Busey as Pappas, Angelo Pappas, in this movie?
He's so unhinged in such a beautiful way for this character. I love it. I really do. I can't imagine anybody else being as good.
Like from the jump,
Yep.
when he's talking about how he's got this young dumb, this hot shot rookie out of the academy that he doesn't want to work with a partner, and like he's blindfolded because he's about to dive into the
Get
pool.
the bricks, yeah.
And he's saying all the shit to Keanu, who's his new partner, and like just the fact that he's made fun of, like he's this guy who like has this theory that turns out to be right, but people don't believe him, and just him
gets
laughing
shit
at
on
Calvin and
the whole-
Hobbes and like wanting the meatball stuff. It's wonderful.
Yeah, him getting shit on like the whole first thing when he's right from the rip. He's right. He's like, yeah, it's just like it's surfer dudes. I found the wax, went to the thing, did the results, and like nobody else wants to believe him. But just like he has that
Well, I think part of it is also because like, their boss is John C. McGinley from Scrubs and from ever, but like he's just like this real prick of a guy in this movie. Everybody's like really buttoned up cop, like in the, Los Angeles, like the bank robbery capital of the world, even though like the town also calls out the bank. Who knows, right? Every city is the bank robbery capital of the world if that's where we're taking the movie. But Gary Busey's here in like a Hawaiian shirt and shit, right? Like it's just like he doesn't look the part. So like he's right, but it's also just like, guy, come on.
Yeah, and like, he could have been like a bumbling idiot for 40 years and then
sure.
like figured out one case, right? So like we don't know the backstory to it. I like his like general like twitchiness. That makes it fun, right?
Like, how do you mean? What do you mean by twitchiness?
Gary Busey just has like a weird like bird like twitchiness to him that I can only imagine comes from decades of cocaine use.
Well, he was in like a really bad car accident.
Oh, was he? I didn't know this.
That like, yeah.
I thought that it was kind of like an Ozzy Osbourne type situation where he's just like...
No, he wasn't. So in 1988, when he was 44, he had just picked up a Harley Davidson from a shop when he tried to maneuver it around a bus and accidentally turned too hard, started skidding, and hit his neck brake, causing him to fly over the windshield and land directly on his helmetless head.
Oh, I'm sorry. That sucks. I
So
take
he
that
has
back.
like some kind of, he has a subdural hematoma. I don't know how it manifests. Obviously, he's able to still like keep working or whatever, and like he giving these like, iconic sort of unhinged performances or whatever, but like it's because he has brain damage, which is like, so it might not be cocaine, it might just be, him having a terrible motorcycle accident.
That makes me feel bad about saying that, but at the same time, I think that
But
it plays... I think it plays
manifests
well
in that way, right?
to these characters to have that like edginess, that like twitchy. I think the twitchiness is actually really great for like an unhinged cop, right? Like it just fits well, and he has it, and it just works really really well. So I actually enjoy it, but good for him. I'm glad that he's still working, and I'm glad that he's
That he
okay.
didn't die.
Yeah.
There's a whole like plot in this where they need to get hair to figure out which beach the surfers, and I'm like, it makes sense. Like it makes total sense that they're getting hair samples
Because
from
there's
surfers
yeah, because there's
to
like
match. Yeah, to match, right?
chemical spills. So they're like, if they surf in the same place all the time, their hair will match the hair that we have based on like the toxins in the water, which is terrifying. But yeah,
Right.
that's a really weird subplot, but interesting. It didn't bother me.
It works, but it's also just like thinking about like how the plot hinges on hair in a way. It's just like, okay, that's weird, sure, but yeah, you made it work.
And then Gary Busey just runs up and cuts the lock of that kid's hair off, and he's like, okay. Or no, Keanu? Who has it? Gary Busey who just runs up and cuts the lock of his hair off. It's like,
Yeah,
thanks.
the two dudes under the blanket. He's like,
Yeah.
hey man, like he didn't bust us. He's like, yeah, but he just cut my hair, man.
Yeah.
There's one line. So when they're raiding the house, which is when Tom Sizemore gets really pissy, it's the next morning after Keanu spends the night on the beach with Tyler Ann. He wakes up, he's like, oh shit, I'm late.
Yes.
And he shows up to the house, and one of the other cops says, I can't believe you're late to your own raid. What a flake. And I'm like, I wonder if he was going to say like another F word and then just like thought the better of it. Because it like, it
Or like
very
fucking
easily,
idiot, and he's like, I didn't
no,
get permission.
like the Vince F word.
I get it, but I'm saying also he could have been like, what a fucking and they're like, you don't get to say fuck, bud. They're like, we used our fucks. We're R-rated already. Like, you're not taking one of our fucks away from this.
Although I think you could have unlimited fucks in there, but it made me feel, because watching movies that from like a while ago, a different era, it sometimes is less than PC, and just like Louis, like it might just be like a speech impediment, or it might just be like me overthinking it, but it just sounded like he was about to
Flubbed
say
his
something
own
that, like,
line. Yeah, it could be anything, but that's funny.
but what a flake is a very harmless thing. Just like, yeah, he is a flake. You're right.
They called Gary Busey a what a hardo at one point. And I was like, oh, that's an old one.
I posted this on Twitter, and I know you quote tweeted it as too fast, but I got a meatball sub today because I'm just like,
It's beautiful.
it's so good. It wasn't 10:30 in the morning when he eats his, but I was just like, I need a meatball sub.
Did
So
you get two or did you get one?
I got two sandwiches, but only one was a meatball sub. I got the other one I'm gonna have after we're done here. Because usually, like, I'm just so tired that I don't want to like make or any, you know what I mean? Like,
I
just
get
want to
it,
have
yeah.
something. So I'm like, I'll just get another sub. So I got a cold sub that I'm gonna eat later. But I did get two, but only one was a meatball sub.
So close.
But in that ensuing pursuit, which is very cool, where Keanu is chasing Swayze. This is where he fires into the heavens or whatever.
Yep.
But he's chasing Swayze through people's houses and backyards and stuff. It's very Matrix, like at the end of the first Matrix when he's running away from Agent Smith and like running through houses or whatever. But of note for the show and just the podcast that you and I do, he breaks a glass door. He breaks a sliding glass door. He throws a thing through it because Swayze locks it. Bodhi locks a door, and then Keanu breaks a glass door, which is, we saw that in Heat. We saw that in Ragazzi. We saw that somewhere else, I think. So, like, all these beautiful glass doors getting broken in the movies we're talking about. So
That's funny. And you mentioned Matthew Broderick was like one of the things. Can you imagine him doing essentially Ferris Bueller through the houses? I'm like, because that's like all I was thinking when I was watching. I was like, oh, like look how much like Ferris Bueller is happening here.
Oh, so you're saying, so like, even though you don't think that that Matthew Broderick would work as Johnny Utah, you think he would work here?
No, I think it would be awful because you'd be watching it, you'd be like, it's fucking Ferris Bueller again. Like,
Oh, okay. I see what you're
it's
saying.
so
Okay.
similar. You'd be like, God damn it, he's just doing Ferris
Gotcha.
Bueller through this fucking thing, and he's just like 10 years older or whatever, right?
I do love the justification for why they rob. Swayze says, we stand for something. To those dead souls inching along the freeways in their metal coffins, we showed them that the human spirit is still alive. And I'm like, all right, like, I appreciate that, but that's some psycho shit. Like, you're not stealing to, like, prove that, like, people who, like, hate their jobs that, like, they can do this one day too. Like, if that's the justification, it's like, I don't know if that's actually what you're doing.
Yeah, that hard sell to me. It's like you're an adrenaline junkie is what you just said, but you somehow made it seem like it was for the good of everyone. Not really true.
So there's the scene where there's a couple different parachuting scenes, the skydiving scenes, but there's the one where Keanu, he's not sure. It's the one we talked about earlier, right? He's not sure if
What
he has
bag
a real
he has.
parachute if it's going to
Yeah.
go off or whatever, right?
Yeah.
And he says to Swayze, "After you, Alphonse." And I was like, I don't know what this means. So I looked it up. And apparently, "After you, my dear Alphonse," originated with a comic strip in 1905. And the expression is generally used when two people go back and forth, suggesting the other go first as a way of being polite. It's sometimes used humorously because they're like, "Pull your string." It's like, "No, you pull your string." So it goes, "After you, Alphonse," and just like kind of just like one of us has to do it.
Oh, I didn't know that. That's a nice little. Yeah, I had no idea. That's a cool little
Yeah.
saying. I like it.
There is a fast connection, sort of, kind of,
What?
where when Swayze, no, like he's just like, you're gonna help us with this heist. You're not gonna stop us. You're gonna help us. He goes, "All I'm asking you for is 90 seconds of your life, Johnny. That's it." And I'm just like, for those 10 seconds or less, I'm free.
Quarter
Like,
mile at a time. That's what he wants him
Yeah.
to live by. Yeah. I think I've said this in a different thing before, but when Gary Busey and Keanu are sitting to talk about the wax and him figuring out that it was sex wax for surfers, they're all drinking Coronas.
oh, cool. I mean, just kind of like a Southern California kind of beer, right? So
Yeah,
it tracks.
kind of, but at the same time, it's like, oh yeah, here you go, Coronas again.
There you go. Yeah. There's a shootout at the airstrip, which feels like where we thought Too Fast was going to wind up before Carter changes it.
Yeah, true, very true.
I'm like, what is this? Too Fast? Kind of is, kind of not really though.
Yeah.
And then, like we said at the end, so the 50-year storm, he's been chasing his dream or whatever. Keanu's been pursuing Swayze through all of Mexico. So just like, I mean, I think it happens in a lot of movies, but just like at the end of Fast and Furious, where Dom flees Los Angeles from Mexico, Swayze leaves Los Angeles from Mexico.
True, but then he goes to like Bali or something, but he winds up in Australia where he said he was gonna go.
Yep.
And go ahead, are you gonna say it?
The line,
Yeah, go ahead.
Vaya con Dios.
Yeah, and he gets there, he throws the mask on the ground, is like, "I fucking caught you," handcuffs them together. He doesn't say, "I can't be locked in a cage, man." He says, "I can't handle a cage," which I've fucked up forever, but like my version I like better.
Yeah.
And then he just unlocks them and says, "Vaya con Dios." And that's
And I
like,
think I think the last line of the movie, I don't know for sure, but it's one of the last lines, if not the last line, is the other cops like race down. They're like, "We'll get him when he comes back in." And Keanu just goes to himself, "He's not coming back."
he ain't coming back, and throws his badge into the water. Yep.
And apparently, on the what was it, the Terminator 2 commentary, James Cameron said that Bodhi killed himself at the end of the movie. So like he chooses to like go out surfing the 50-year wave and die out there. So,
But
know.
you see, so I was gonna ask you this, and like I hadn't remembered like precisely the ending, but like at the end, you see him like fall, like it's he doesn't make the wave, like he gets like demolished. So yes, he went out there
Well,
to die.
so that's the other thing. It's like if there was a sequel, obviously, Johnny Utah's there. You could bring Swayze back. You might not, but like I don't want a Point Break movie in this universe without Swayze, right?
Yeah, he's just like as an actor and character. Yeah, like
Have you seen the hockey movie Youngblood with Keanu and Swayze?
no, I haven't. Is it good?
It's Keanu plays a goalie.
Oh, cool.
It's Swayze and it's Rob Lowe. It's not really a Keanu movie. Like he's like probably like fifth or sixth banana. It's like a Swayze and Rob Lowe movie.
Okay.
But yeah, check it out. It's from the 80s. It's really good. Youngblood.
Oh no, I didn't. Yeah, I've never seen it. I'll definitely give it a watch. That sounds really cool to me.
And
Go ahead.
that was the movie. Like, how on Zack Attack we called having sex quadruple spacing because of me and Orson Welles or whatever?
Yes.
Youngblood is the movie where we coined that phrase for Keanu.
Oh, what
There
was
is
it?
a sensual scene. There's just like this older woman who like is in love with all the hockey players. And so she like invites them over for tea and then, I guess seduces them or whatever. And so Mike and I would call it sipping tea with Miss McGill.
Ooh.
So, yeah. So just like quadruple spacing, instead of just saying that, they went and had sex, like they quadruple spaced. He sipped tea with Miss McGill. So, any other thoughts, any other notes about Point Break?
No, I cut all mine in now, it looks like, so I am good.
Cool. Then let's watch the trailer. This is posted by Mac Phoenix 82. Just some. Oh wait, no, sorry. This is a fan-made trailer. I need to give you another link. Hold on.
No problem.
Get out of here. Okay, here we go. This is again. It's not posted by like a real person. This is posted by Warley Clarence, which is a True Romance reference. In June of 2008, Point Break trailer 91, 1.8 million views. 2-minute trailer, 1 second. Let me know when you got it up.
Classic movie trailers would have had this for us. Jeez.
I thought so, but apparently they didn't.
Okay, I'm ready whenever you are, bud.
All right, 3, 2, 1, play.
Oh, this is like shot like from Handycam from a VHS.
Pretty good.
The ultimate rush. Nothing that comes close to it. Not even sex.
Also, not that like a 2-hour movie is particularly long, but this movie flies by.
Total commitment.
It does.
Real thin line.
Rachel was saying how long she thinks it always feels, but it's because I put it on TV all the time, and 2-hour movie on TV that becomes,
Not tragic to die doing
Like with commercials and stuff, you mean?
Yeah. It'll be on like TBS or whatever, right? So
See, I don't think this music is good.
no, it's bad. I agree. I don't like it. But the score of the
But
actual
you
movie,
like the score and the soundtrack otherwise in the movie.
fuck yeah, it's incredible. It's so good.
Just not this.
Yeah, not this. This is like 90s action movie every trailer, right?
Hesitation will cause your
That like
worst
dun
fears
dun
to
dun
come
dun.
true.
You'll take it to the edge. Past it.
It's gonna be a great day, Johnny.
Those name cards are really dating.
To surf and pick up girls.
The crazy thing about this movie, and Keanu, within the scope of Keanu's career, is this is his real like first action movie.
Is it?
Like he'd done Bill and Ted, yeah, but this kicks off kind of a new era of Keanu because like 3 years later he'll do Speed, and 5 years after that he'll do The Matrix, and then he obviously goes on to do John Wick and stuff like that. But like he hadn't really done stuff like this before. He was trapped in high school movies, and so this is like a new kind of this is a transition era Keanu, and like it works, man.
It's a great movie for it. It's a very good movie for it. Because it's kind of like a young action movie, right? Like,
Neither one of you have anything even remotely interesting to tell me.
Caught my first tube this morning.
great line.
It's so good. It's so good.
Yeah.
So yeah. Okay. So the Letterboxd game. For reference sake, Mad Max Fury Road, one of the most popular films on Letterboxd. Oh, and the Racer Trash community just waived Fury Road. If that's, I think the Grammy Ghost re-aired it, so, on their profile, there might, whatever. But 1.1 million views for Mad Max Fury Road. Point Break, 1991, directed by Catherine Bigelow, starring Patrick Swayze, Keanu Reeves, Gary Busey, and Lori Petty, has been seen by how many people?
Oh, gotta be a fuck ton. I'm gonna go what I think is crazy high to start, 600,000.
You are way too high.
Yeah.
So what was your real first guess?
My real first guess would be 225,000.
You're still too high.
Is it 100,000?
Now you're too low. One more guess. Between 100 and what'd you say, 225?
Yeah.
One more guess.
137.
180, 438. 180, 438. Average rating of 3.7.
180. Yeah, 180. Okay. Sorry, my brain
180,
heard
most common of
108.
4, then a 3.5, then a 3. Average rating of 3.7. How many people have this in their top 4?
50.
Way too low.
Oh, good. 350.
Still too low.
475.
Still too low. One more guess.
600.
1,300 people
Jesus.
have this in their top 4 favorite movies of all
Good
time.
shit though. That's an insane percentage.
Yeah. I added it to my top 4 this morning. Because I have one that I don't keep. I always have the John
Rotating
Boyce
one.
Seattle Mariners documentary.
Yeah.
And I have Paddington 2, and then I have Rad, and then I just have the 4th one. So it was Columbus. Now it's Point Break. So there we go. Okay. But I got to open my doc again. Hold on.
Okay.
I found Ash22 __ Ash on Letterboxd, who this year said, not only does my SO, significant other, have good music taste, but this was a class film recommendation. For one, Swayze, legend.
Yep.
Reeves, legend.
Yep.
Swayze and Reeves, magnificent. It's such a great film with a truly unique story, like robbers, surfers with president masks. Amazing. To be fair, it's such a fun movie to watch with such unintentionally lovable characters. It's great. 5 stars. I think it's intentionally lovable. I think they know exactly what they're doing, Ash.
Yeah, and I also think that it's a very unique movie. Is funny because it is also just the Fast and the Furious. But yes,
Right. It was unique until the Fast and the Furious,
exactly.
right? But,
Yeah.
so Ash's number 4.
Does it have a big knife on the
Break.
poster?
Big knife on the poster is number 1.
Okay, American Psycho. Got it.
I messaged Wes and I'm just like, American Psycho was once again in the letterbox game. Do you think Joe's going to get it? He goes like, I think he said, do you think Joe's going to have an issue with it? He said 100%. So you did not have an issue with it.
Babe
I was going to
Ruth.
say, do you remember the quote? Do you remember the quote that I dropped from it?
Eggshell, white, something. It's like pearl, something.
Eggshell with Roman. Nice.
Okay, there you go. Eggshell I got. Yeah, I knew that part.
Well, yes, I got to this one. I'm like, okay, you can get all four, and American Psycho is in there, so we have to do this one.
The hilarious.
American Psycho,
Thank you.
number 1, Ashes, number 1.
Perfect. Good. Fuck that poster for being a knife. Go ahead.
All right, you also love movies number 2 and 3. You and Ash would get along. This dude from the UK.
Okay.
We've had both of these in multiple top 4s, I would say.
Okay.
Both are, I would say, sort of stereotypical dude movies. One is
Fight
as
Club.
homoerotic. Yep.
There you go. Cool. Nailed
As
it.
homoerotic as this. Yep.
Okay, good.
The
That was
other
actually
one-
my other question to Rachel. My question was, what's more homoerotic, Fight Club or Point Break?
See, that I
Because they're both R-rated now, and they're both very homoerotic, so which one is it?
I think the issue is that Brad Pitt's it's the issue I was having before, but Brad Pitt's sexuality in Fight Club is just so off the charts
Okay.
that like it renders everything else moot in a way.
Fair. Yeah. I think that Fight Club is probably a little bit more overt than this, just because it's like, yeah, Brad Pitt is like very sexual. Yep, I agree.
mean, the scene where he answers the door while he's having sex with Marla, and it's like in a millimeter above like where his dick would be. It's just like,
Yep.
yeah, that's,
Exactly.
they're not holding anything back, right?
Nope, and he's cutting porn into the It's like firmly sexual. Yes.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
And then Ash's number 2, so we got American Psycho, Fight Club, and Point Break. His number 2 is the newest of the 4, a movie that you love, that is not, I would not say homoerotic, an Oscar-winning film, directed by a guy who directed another movie that I love and you hate, which I know is not a movie. You might know what the movie is, but you're not going to know who the director is.
La La Land?
Yes, who directed La La Land, do you know?
No fucking idea. Go ahead.
This one also about music, though.
Also about... Is it Whiplash?
It's Whiplash. So that's
Nice.
4 huge movies, right? American Psycho,
Yeah.
Whiplash, Fight Club, and Point Break. Ash with good taste. Also, sort of, homoerotic tastes.
Hey, that's fine. Nothing
Yeah.
wrong with that.
Ash Spence, gender fluid, gay, and asexual 3, 80s, 90s era. So Ash has very specific taste, and Ash nailed it. So shout out to Ash for 4 great movies in your top 4.
I can't believe the guy the same person that did Whiplash did fucking La La Land. God.
Yeah.
2 complete opposite ends of the spectrum for me. Wow.
Yeah, they're both great.
Yeah.
One's a great movie, the other's a great movie. 2 opposite ends of the spectrum.
Like a full, the thing, like if you follow communism long enough, it becomes fascism type situation.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, that's what it was exactly.
If you make a music movie, long enough, it becomes a good music movie, and it just becomes a good music movie. It doesn't really track, but yeah, both great movies, Whiplash and La La Land. And he's doing, what's his new one? It's going to be another thing about L.A. Oh, he also did First Man with Gosling, First Gauze. Babylon, set in Hollywood during the transition from silent films to talkies.
Gauze is going to be in a new movie soon?
Well, he's in Barbie.
Yeah, I just saw that this morning on the news.
You didn't know that he was playing Ken?
No, it's Margot Robbie, him, and then like Will Ferrell, a bunch of people. Like, no, I mean, I had no idea. I don't follow this stuff until it is hitting me in the face. So
yeah, written and directed by Greta Gerwig of Little Women and also all Noah Baumbach stuff. So yeah, it's gonna be great.
Yeah,
very excited. Joe, next week we have Fast and Furious number 4.
Beautiful.
Gosling also going to be in a movie called The Gray Man on Netflix this year, directed by the Russo brothers, who did the Avengers, Infinity War, and stuff like that. Like, they became the MCU Avengers guys. Gosling, Chris Evans, Ana de Armas. When the CIA's top asset is identity known to no one, uncovers agency secrets, he triggers a global hunt by assassins set loose by his ex-colleague, starring Ryan Gosling in his return to filmmaking.
Oh.
This summer, I think. But yeah, next week is Fast and Furious, so we're back on that grind.
Cool.
But the next pit stop we're going to do, which I will announce next week, I have not seen. It is a patron pick, so I have high hopes for it. But again, after Heat and Point Break, it's hard to keep up the momentum.
I love heist movies. You love heist movies. Rachel loves heist movies. Like, we're going to find fun ones, right? Like,
for sure.
They might not be as great as Heat and Point Break, but, I love heist movies. Like, I'm sure that I'll enjoy a bunch of them no matter what, just in general.
Yeah, and this is a patron pick, and one that I've been looking forward to, and also one that when I asked Bob, I'm like, what heist movie should we do for the show that I probably haven't heard of? This was on his short list.
Oh,
so I think,
that's cool. Good.
Both a patron and a Bob recommendation, because he sees as many movies as I do or whatever.
Yep.
But for all things Too Fast, Too Forever, go to cageclub.me, facebook.com/TooFast2Forever, or at TooFast2Forever on Twitter and Instagram. Email us, family@cageclub.me. Check out our Patreon page and vote for Bodhi at TooFast2Forever.com and our store at TooFast2Forever.shop. And come back next week for Fast and Furious for the 11th time. I'm Joey Lewandowski.
I'm Joe too.
And we will tell you all about it.
We'll see you